Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Can you read me? Okay, perfect. It wasn't functional moments ago, so just glad it is now in fact functional. Hello, Atlam. How are you? Welcome back. I need to get a new mic. It's pretty obvious at the moment that this mic is on its way out. I just should, probably invest in a new one. It has just been slowly showing its age. It's like, I think it's like 15 years old at this point. I remember I got it when I worked at Best Buy, and I'm trying to think when the last time I worked there was. First off, I quit in so at least 13 years ago, and I bought it in the middle of my career there, which was several years. So, I don't know. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, how we doing? Welcome back to Mapmaker Monday. My name is Mac, the community manager of Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making tool and utility that allows you to immerse your players better in your storytelling, build maps with ease, and export them to your playstyle of choice. Whether you play in person, you can print your maps or export them to get printed by a professional company, such as Kraken War Games or a print shop. You can export your maps for TV tabletop or projector tabletop. You can export your maps for virtual tabletops, such as Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, and others. So welcome back to the stream, everyone. If you've been here before, and if this is your first stream, welcome to Mapmaker Monday. Every Monday, we build a map live for you to watch and learn. We work on it about a half hour, an hour a week, and slowly expand and build the map into a massive build. This map started in this corner here. Really, I think the issue is just the constant disconnections, and it's just not working anymore. I have to do a lot to finagle with it. Also, in my recordings, it seems like it has problems, Atlam, to be honest. Hey, RG, how you doing? Welcome, Rev. Welcome, Chim. So I started this map in this corner. The map is now 85 by 82 squares. The map is actually built diagonal or, perpendicular to the grid. I did this to challenge myself, especially when putting down structures and objects. It makes it kind of difficult because normally you're on the grid, right? This road here, this whole path is all done by hand. We've got tons of graves, fancier, private grave sites, more kind of medium style graves. We've got a big cathedral where they host the funerals and processions and all that stuff, with a beautiful walk-around garden that I built by hand. We also have, again, more graves. It's pretty cool. These graves here are, I like to think they're like the people who maybe served with this church over the years, whether it be like a paladin, a cleric, a priest, anything like that. But this property, I call the map Ancient Cemetery because it is old. It's old. And it's built on top of a massive catacomb and sewer system, which will be an accompanying map we make next. So, how's everyone doing today? How was your weekend? Anything interesting happened for you? Hey, how you doing, Spellbound? Welcome back. And I don't know why, but but my TikTok chat isn't coming through the chat feed. Oh, I know why. Here, let me see. What I might have not... for some reason it defaulted to the Twitch chat, not the multi-chat. I'm going to refresh it. Should be able to see everyone's chat now. This is weird. Hope everyone's doing all right today, and sorry about that. I'm looking at all the feeds. Oh my gosh, no SQL. That must have been stressful. Moving a computer that distance is always terrifying. Is it that Wartificer build we were talking about before, Rev? Least of the worries was the computer. Sure, sure. I'm sure there's a lot of stress involved with. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stress involved with moving. No one likes moving. You know, packing, unpacking. You seem to be living out of boxes for months. The stress of moving your family across many states or countries. It's no fun. Getting all set up at this new place, all the utilities, all the mail forwarding. It's never fun. And there's always something you forget. Some of those boxes just never get unpacked. Panketeer, you're right. Hey, Brain Bomb, how you doing? Welcome back. So with this map, it has slowly been evolving, kind of just a week at a time. I work on it for about a half hour, an hour during the stream. The stream's typically about 2 hours, but during that time we hang out, we talk, we discuss your campaigns, we answer questions in AMA format. So if you have any questions or needs for support with Dungeon Alchemist related inquiries, please feel free to let me know in chat, and I will do my best to guide you. Any suggestions for maps for the ferry? Maybe in the Winter Court? What do you mean for the ferry? Do you mean like the Feywild? As of right now, he's only L2, so he isn't, he doesn't have a subclass. Artificer gets it at 3. Feywild? Okay. So Feywild, I mean, are you asking for suggestions of maps from the workshop? Whoa, why is that so blurry? Weird. The text on my screen just feels blurry. I don't know why. Are we at 100%? Yeah. Huh. Anyway, maybe it's my eyes. Honestly, I mean, offhand, I haven't really thought of any crazy Feywild maps for a while, but I will say, you can take any Fey map, like this one's a beautiful one made by Sailor Yugoth, and you can add winter to it, because are you asking for a Feywild map set in the winter, or are you asking for 2 different maps, Brain Bomb? Because it is quite possible to turn any map to winter by just flipping on this snow weather switch. So you could have a Feywild map set in the winter, which is actually quite fun. It's a mashup of the two. So kind of going into that, what I would recommend is hop in the workshop, go to browse and search the hey Ron Amok, how you doing? So let's search for Feywild. See what comes up. Get quite a few here, right? You might be able to find one just by searching Feywild that serves your needs. Hey, Broken King. Thank you, I appreciate it. But here we have a Fey Court, right? So this is kind of what you're looking for already, right? So I'm going to download this. Something's up with this side of the... Anyway. So I'm going to try loading this one, and then we'll make it winter. Check this out. You'll like it a lot. I'm here to help. That's why they call me Mac. Give me a roll of duct tape and 5 minutes in Dungeon Alchemist, and I can I can get you set up with any map you need. So here we have a Fey Court, right? Let's make this Fey Court winterized, shall we? Weird, it didn't go in here because this is inside of a building, technically. Guess what? I can fix that. If you click this room, you can remove the ceiling, and then it now allows snow to get in. It really is an impressive feature. Hey, Artful Darkness, thank you for the likes. Much appreciated. Let's put some in this room, too. So that lets the snow come in from outside when it's snowing. Because technically, these were drawn as a room space. Anyway, we can even turn this the water into ice if you wanted to. By going into here, selecting ice. Currently built in, the only weather option we have is snow. I know we do plan to add more. We do also have times of day like morning, evening, or morning, or daytime, morning, evening, and night. So there's like different skyboxes and time of day. You also have light filters and things like that. If you want to add rain currently, there is a way with some of the tools we've enabled within Dungeon Alchemist. So what you can do is go into the Steam Workshop tab, right? And hit Browse Assets. Our community of cartographers and asset creators have shared over 11,000 maps and over 9,000 3D models. Many of the 3D models are animated, so you can search, like, for instance, rain. Here's some rain, and it's kind of hard to see because it's on that white backdrop. But let me show you how this works. It's quite simple. I'm going to disable collisions. So as you can see, it's kind of lightly raining wherever I set this object, and I can expand it across the whole map. Honestly, though, things like rain and weather effects, clouds, fog, lightning, that kind of stuff, if you want those things, that's usually done in your virtual tabletop of choice. We do have some effects, though, that you can add into your maps to add some fun stuff, like you can see the will-o-wisps over here and some electrical arcs, like magical effects to make the environment feel more alive. I'll be honest with you, though, like tools like, let's see here. I'm trying to think of something offhand. Like Foundry, for instance, they have amazing modules that support weather, and they are quite extensive. So if you use a virtual tabletop, I would probably recommend going that route. Anyway, most virtual tabletops have them on their own, so it's kind of like unnecessary. Man, it is really making this map crawl. I'm going to delete it. You get the idea. It is possible. We have an asset importer, which allows our community to import 3D models of several types. So you can import STLs, FBX, and GLTF/GLB files, so kind of flat, gray, simple 3D files, full color 3D files, and animated 3D files, and a mixture of all three. So essentially, you can import models to use in your own maps, or you can share them on the workshop for others to use, and that's where things like rain comes from. Some users have uploaded, modern assets, sci-fi assets, cyberpunk. So it's possible to even build maps in those aesthetics now because of people in our community sharing those things. There's things like these corpses shared that are things we wouldn't have currently in Dungeon Alchemist. All sorts of assets that kind of fill the void in between the gaps in our current asset collection. So between the assets available stock in Dungeon Alchemist, which is like over 6,500, and then the assets shared on the workshop, you have quite a library to dip into. Now, I wouldn't recommend downloading all of them because some of them are not that well optimized. And not to mention, every one of these needs to preload through your RAM every time you load up a map. If you have thousands of them, it starts slowing down your computer a little bit, even if you have a powerful computer. So we recommend just subbing to assets as you need them and unsubbing when you don't need them. But you can definitely expand your collection, build all sorts of maps, save the map, and if you delete the assets from your collection and open the map later to do edits, it'll prompt you to download the assets again. So there's no worry about like, oh, which ones do I need to track down? It's actually quite simple. I do agree weather's important, though typically having it in the map side is kind of, I don't know, a little redundant if you can easily take care of it on the play side. Now, that just depends on where you play, though. If you're playing on a TV tabletop, you may want it right in Dungeon Alchemist. That makes sense, right? This map is beautiful, though, with, like, the snow. Really pops. Hey, Brain Bomb, do you think this would work for you in this case? Something to this effect, or even this exact map. So this map is called Fey Court. Here, let me get a link. I'll get you a link right now. Here's the link for that. Now remember, you will have to, turn the weather to snow. Don't do it here. Don't do it in the terrain tab. That'll shift the whole biome. You want to do it in the weather tab. Okay, so turn it from no weather to snow weather. Okay, and then hit change terrain. That'll add all the, the snow that you see there. The lighting effects, that's optional. You can do that if you want. But I do think the Fey really pops when it's like purple or teal or green. It really has like a good color flow to it with all the objects and assets. This just looks really fun. But again, optional, personal preference, So, the other thing I did, remember I opened the room tool because these are drawn as rooms, the flooring in them, the walls. So you would want to select said room. You click the edit room tab under the room tool, select the room, and then change it from roofing, the immersive roofing that blocks out the sky when you're inside and it makes it gray so you don't see the sun, and then drop this because it's an open courtyard technically, so you'd want the snow in there. Can you import a mini to DA? Yeah. Hey, Half Ogre, welcome back. Got a lot of people here today. How's everyone doing? Eric Gonzalez, ask away. Any questions y'all got? Ask. So you can import minis several ways into Dungeon Alchemist. One is through our asset importer right here. So if you have the ability to craft a mini or source them or sculpt them, or maybe you have a big collection of them that you've gotten from like Humble Bundles or supporting Patreon creators, whatever, you can open the asset importer right here, right? In fact, I'm just going to open this. It'll I don't own this map and I didn't save it, but I'll show you. Lords of Form, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. So through the asset importer, jeez. Oh, I hit, no, my bad. My bad, yo. So here you can import 3D models. It's actually really fun. So if you have the ability to craft a 3D model, you can then import it, or if you can source a 3D model online. If you're sourcing models online, be very careful, because if you don't own the rights to an asset, you probably shouldn't distribute it or share it. Maybe only keep it as a local asset if you need something special for your builds. But there are lots of 3D models shared online under what's called Creative Commons, which is a licensing program that allows you to share the 3D model as long as it's not intended for resale and you properly credit the original creator under the license of Creative Commons in the description. So there are a lot of creators in our community that will find models online, upload them, and then credit the creator wherever they found it. Which is something that's fine as long as you're not profiting off of that 3D model. Now, to that end, you can import, something extensive. Let's see here. Here is my puppy, Seymour. I wanted to add him in the map, so my wife sculpted this, and then we could add him in whenever. Additionally, let's say I wanted something a little bit more detailed. This roof here was a custom observatory roof, a conical roof, that the lovely Mrs. Mack sculpted under my advisement. So we've got this lovely weather vane with like a cord going down, all the fun kind of ramshackle shingles, a little kind of opening, and it's kind of twisted and wonky. I wanted this to feel like it was kind of handcrafted, but at the same time, durable. It reminds me of Merlin's like kind of tower that's all ramshackle and falling apart, kind of held up by books. Anyway, so you can import 3D models of several types: STL, FBX, and GLTF/GLB. Can you give Eric the link for the wiki on the importer, the asset importer, Atlam? So essentially, this 3D model here was uploaded by me, and then I shared it on the workshop. But that's one of many different things you could do. Here is like a cat that my wife sculpted, so that's like a token. Here is Hendrik, our mascot, as an alchemist. You're kind of getting the idea here of how easy it is to import whatever you want, right? Here's a pool table that I shared on the workshop. But as long as you have these 3D models or can sculpt them, you can, import them, put in a name, give it some keywords that can be searched. That you go in here and set it as a token. If you want it to be a token, it'll appear in the token menu if you do so. Otherwise, there's all these different object types. Objects that are, floating, objects that have a pit type, objects that snap to walls, etc. But if you set it as a token, it'll be in the token menu and you can use it as a token. Now, moving on, you can put it in a category. You can set up colliders for it. And then you can either set it as public, friends only, or private. Give it a description. And then share it on the workshop or keep it to your local collection. Let's go back to the map here. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Acid reflux going on. Man, I really need to just stop drinking coffee. Let me show you a couple of 3D models that might have Creative Commons on them. So if you look on here, some are made, by creators in our community. Like Zach here, he made a bunch of assets, and he basically just says, if this was useful to you, consider supporting me on, my Patreon or my Ko-fi. Some creators just say, make sure you properly credit me. But a lot of people will say basic stuff about it or just like a basic description. I'm trying to find one, though, that has some Creative Commons in it. Here. So like this egg. Credit, Easter egg. And then it's got a link. By K Jinx and is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution. Creative Commons license. No changes were made. Tags, aberration, animals. Centimar. So uploaded and shared an asset even though they didn't create it. But it was under a Creative Commons license, and the creator who made it shared it under that. You can't just put any asset under a Creative Commons license. The original creator has to express that it can be done as such. When's the next big update feature for Dungeon Alchemist? Hopefully sometime this quarter. So between now and the end of June, most likely, is the standard kind of timeline, though it is subject to change. So I would just kind of stay tuned to our social media and various platforms, Discord primarily, because we're constantly sharing information as to when the update may or may not happen. Also teasers and other things. Oh, what is the next big feature? Multi-level is the next big feature. Multi-level and roofing is kind of the next big thing. Plus a bunch of quality of life features related to like objects and how to use them and manipulate them. Let's see here. So metroxide. I'll be honest with you, Run Amok, I don't know like the very specifics, but like STL is a very simple 3D file that's usually intended for like 3D printing. It's essentially, imagine a bunch of layers stacked on top of each other that have been kind of sliced and laid on top of each other to make a 3D image. You know, imagine if you had a bunch of pieces of paper and you carved them to make a 3D shape, right? So that's essentially what an STL is. It's a very simplified 3D model, okay? Those are typically, when you import them, they are like a flat gray color. They don't have any detail, very limited detail to them, and no textures, but you can apply a few color filters to them. I'll show you an example in a moment. But yeah, this is an example of some of the multi-level aspects. It will be using different scenes, which is the proper way to integrate into Foundry. So every level will be exported as a separate scene with its own JSON and appropriate, image or video file. And then you, and say your virtual tabletop of choice, can use like something like Monk's active tiles if you use Foundry. And if your players go to the stair and start walking down it, then it'll transition to the floor below, because they're obviously down below. They can see the area down below much easier, right? If they're up on this ledge, they can see down below, but they may not be able to see underneath them and around these edges. Hey, Roto Chopper. Yeah, it's basically a very simplistic model. I like to think of it as just like when you have a prototype of something, it's like the very base prototype of it. One moment. Here, let me find a 3D model in DA that's one of mine that I've imported to give you an example. Shell. So if you look here, this shell, this snail shell, this was imported as an STL file. Very simple flat gray model. No like tons of detail here. Now, if you look at it, you can change the color to all these different filters. So these can kind of act like as status effects or whatever, or you can just add some difference to them. We added these internally in DA for fun, but here is the exact same shell that has actually been like detailed and colorized and imported as like a sandstone. So Metroxide, if you have a multi-level map, and I'm going to explain this once right now for everyone watching, because it's being asked like 5 times in 5 different places. So no matter what your virtual tabletop, each level of a multi-level map will export as its own scene, its own JPEG or video file with its appropriate data file, JSON, XML, script, whatever it is for your virtual tabletop. So take that how you will. The reason we've done it this method and not integrated with any modules or third-party plugins or anything like that is because it's the most universal across the most virtual tabletops. It works with the most virtual tabletops simultaneously. Pretty much every virtual tabletop has multiple scene options, right? So you set each floor as scene, and so essentially when you build a multi-level map, go to export it, it will export all the scenes in the export, each of those floors as a separate scene, then you plug them in one at a time. So if you have 5 floors, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 4, floor 5. Sometimes they may not even go to all the floors, but depending on how things work, right? Anyway, the reason we did this is to keep things simple. I know people are like, well, there's the levels module, or there's, all these different things. Why don't you have it work with that? Because modules and the like are made by third parties, and third parties, sometimes lose interest in those projects or don't update them to newer versions of, say, Foundry or Fantasy Grounds. And all of these things are kind of problematic when we try to work with them. As an indie developer, it's kind of dependent on their whims. So we don't want to be fully dependent on that, and we want it to be as universal with as many systems as possible. So basically, we work with, the main virtual tabletop, not the extended module or plugin community. Nice, Roto Chopper. Buford Gaming and Zinnerex, thank you for the follow. Taylor Massey, thank you for the sub. And NoSQL Know-How, thank you for the follow as well. Hey, Eric Gonzalez, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. Sorry I missed those in the last like 20, 30 minutes, so there's a bunch of shout-outs all at once. By the way, if you're enjoying the stream, having lots of fun, learning something, make sure you hit that follow button or subscribe button. And if you are already following, maybe share, the stream on your platform of choice, so more people can know about this amazing map making tool. We're kind of a small indie development company. Word of mouth is our kind of strongest way to get the word out about Dungeon Alchemist. So, just go scream it off the rooftops or whatever. Tell everyone you love it. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Man, this map here is so good. Brilliantly made. Asmodeus, thank you, man, for chiming in. Asmodeus is one of our moderators, but also one of our most prolific asset creators, sharers, and uploaders on the workshop. Like, I'd say a good, 2,000 models on there are yours? Eye of the Night. Is there a projected date for the next software update beyond Q2? You mean the next update after Fun with Objects? Is that what you're meaning, Eye of the Night? So our next update, just to clarify, is Fun with Objects, and it's launching sometime in this quarter, most likely, unless, for some reason there's a delay. But if there is, we'll definitely announce it, so it's not like, you'll be out of the know. Now, that being said, this next update is quite challenging for several reasons. We essentially had to root up a lot of systems in Dungeon Alchemist and redesign them so we could add multi-level, which is arguably one of the most requested features in Dungeon Alchemist, multi-level and roofing, to be specific. Ash Baker, thank you so much for that follow. Much appreciated. Thank you for all the kind words, everyone. I appreciate that. It does help a lot when you say those things, because there's most likely people watching who are trying to get their opinion of Dungeon Alchemist, our community, and how it will work for them and their campaigns. Keep in mind, if you are watching right now and you're considering buying Dungeon Alchemist or you have questions, please chime in. Let us know. I understand, you may be shy or reserved, understandable, but keep in mind, if you do ask questions, you can ask them in AMA format related to Dungeon Alchemist, and I will provide you assistance and guidance in real time. So if you're, wondering how or what to, can this map maker do XYZ? How do you do this? Can it make this? It'd be great if you asked, because I'm here to provide that guidance. Run amok, are you meaning so you could separate the foreground and background layers? Dang, Rev. Incarnate's a pretty powerful tool, and so is Dungeon Draft. I think, in their own rights, they're incredibly useful and versatile tools. I think my biggest reserve with Incarnate is the monthly, or annual fee. That's one major concern, though they can make, world and regional maps like it's nobody's business. Seriously, they excel. Ash Baker on Twitch asks, I'm looking to buy this platform as soon as I have the money next month. Does the platform handle character sheets or integrate with anything like Roll20 or D&D Beyond? So Ash Baker, Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making tool, an immersion utility. It allows you to make maps and then export them to your platform of choice. So in this case, you could export the map for Roll20. It also works with a variety of other tools, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Above VTT. Above VTT and Roll20 can integrate with D&D Beyond through several different methods. I play in a campaign. I actually played yesterday, and it was on Roll20, and we use D&D Beyond in the Beyond 20 plugin, which essentially allows you to link your sheet data and rolls from D&D Beyond to Roll20. But then the maps from Dungeon Alchemist are in Roll20, so we were like in a Dungeon Alchemist map in top down. It was pretty cool. So basically, that would allow you to, make your map in Dungeon Alchemist. It looks very beautiful, has lots of detail. You can export it as an animated map or a still map, and then you can export it to your platform of choice. So if it's a virtual tabletop, if it's in person with a TV tabletop or projector tabletop, maybe you want to print your map. You can print it locally on your own hardware, or you can export the file, take it to a print shop, or even send it to our partner Kraken War Games, and they'll print it out on a big, huge neoprene mat that's waterproof and scratch resistant, and they'll ship it to you. Honestly, Roto Chopper, it's too early to tell if it will or not. There's a lot of questions about foreground layers coming in from a lot of different people. Will the canopy of trees, will the roofing be exportable as an object or a separate layer? Too early to tell, I'll be honest with you. I will say this, though. You can kind of do that already in Dungeon Alchemist using the green screen layer. So there is a green screen biome, right, in Dungeon Alchemist? Let me show you what I mean. With when it comes to, that foreground layer versus a background layer, okay, there really isn't a map making tool that excels in allowing you to do this currently, that has like a simplistic version of it or an export for it. And it is kind of frustrating. And I know why you're trying to do it. Essentially, they want an immersive tool where your players, they can see the canopy on the screen, but then when they walk under it, it kind of peels back and you would see the tree, like just the tree, like a stump, or maybe, the tree like vertical going up into the air, but without the canopy. So it kind of peels back and shows something like this, right? I get what you're trying to do. You can do that to a degree in Dungeon Alchemist already. It's kind of a pain, but it's possible. There's several ways around it. You can use the stumps to replace the trees, right? Alternatively, let's say you have a building. I'm just going to draw a building on this map. Hey, Eric, how you doing, buddy? Last night was a night. The session was intense and fun. Had a lot of fun. Okay, so let's say we just draw like a little farmstead here, right? In fact, I'm going to make it we're going to make it an 8 by, oh my gosh, why am I struggling with this? 8 by 8, and then we're going to make it a circular kind of homestead here, right? I'm going to generate this. And now, notice that this whole environment here, let's say I wanted to make a roof for this, to have a foreground layer for this cottage in the woods, right? So I could save and export this map as is, right? So I go to File, Save As, and I would name it Cottage, right? And this is floor 1. Next, now I'm going to warn y'all, my camera is going to get completely blasted by the amount of green on the screen in a moment, so just be wary. You can go into the Biome tab here under Change Terrain Type, and then you switch to green screen. Now you have this same, map, right? Where you can have nothing. So this could be a stamp, for instance, of this building that you could put on any map you want. Alternatively, you now have an image to play with and maybe add a roof to, or add as a tile in your virtual tabletop of choice. You can essentially export this image, put it into, say, Photoshop, and remove the green from the backdrop. Keep the image the same size, save it as a PNG. You now have a blank background with just this building. Now, putting that into perspective, right? Let's say you added a roof to this, right? I don't have a perfect circular roof, but I'm going to just grab one. Disable collisions, and I'm just going to give you a basic example. Right? So this is a crazy roof for this, but you get the idea. Okay? I could file save as this cottage roof, right? Do the exact same thing I just did. Right? Now I have the green screen with a roof, so I have two versions of the map, right? Export this, clean out the green screen area. Now you have a roof version of the map, which is the foreground. And you have the background, which you can just leave with the terrain. In fact, it doesn't need to be green screen. It would just be that house with the terrain. So when these people go in here, the roof peels back. The foreground layer would be imported into your virtual tabletop. This would be the foreground layer. Obviously, you would remove the green screen in your, photo editor of choice. I know it's a little bit of work. I'm sorry you got to do a little bit of legwork in post. But I'm pretty sure y'all are capable of doing some minor photo or video editing to remove this green. So we've given you tools to do this, and this is really unique because you can actually superimpose stuff live. Like if I wanted to, I could add fire effects over this green or whatever in a stream like I am now. How many people work on Dungeon Alchemist? It's a team of like 10 people, actually. Let's get out of the green screen background because it is destroying my eyes. Man, the difference in the game, right? Of last night. If we had moved, okay, I drew a door on the wall using Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments, right? And our team wanted to try ramming the door first, which they did, and it alerted the guy we were chasing to the fact that someone was there, and he started running. But had we just like drawn a door on the wall, right, like maybe 5 feet this way, we would have been right in his office and walked and like surprised him, walked right in on him. It probably would have stunned him because we just like walked in on him. However, though, because he ran away, we were able to loot his office, and holy cow, I used detect magic, found a couple magic items really quickly. I had some insane investigation checks. And our rogue got some really good lock picks on, like a strong box. So I found like a hidden, drawer with some gems. We found a ton of gold, a ton of documents, including the title for the place we're at. So I kind of feel like we're leaning into Bastion territory at the moment. So Rotochopter, I mean, it isn't really a workaround. It is the way to do that. Let me show you what I've created using this. You can use it in a lot of different ways, to be honest with you. So the green screen biome is intended to create tiles and to create foreground layers. But to give you an example, here is a subterranean drill asset that we have, right? This thing is on the green screen biome. I recorded it, exported it as a 30-second export, which is the normal export, right? I threw it in a video editor, which has chroma key removal. Took me maybe 20 seconds to remove it, and then saved it as a WebM, which a WebMs allow you to do transparent backgrounds as long as the alpha layer is present. And then I can take that, right, and throw it in something like Foundry or any tool that supports tiles. And then now I have an asset that's animated that can be resized and moved around the map at will. And I did this because when I created this map, there's two of these drills in this area over here. I assume my players might want to use one of them. Well, one of them was like 30 feet from drilling into a tomb. So I was going to give them the ability to drill into the tomb or drive one through this area if they wanted to. Because the tracks are designed to move the drills throughout the entire mine, right? So they could take the drill over here and drill through these areas and get through them. Hey, see you later, Eric. Thank you so much again for last night. Had a lot of fun. And, for everything post-game. Appreciate you, my man. We'll talk later. But yeah, we have a team of 10 people for who was asking earlier, I'm the only community person, so I'm the community manager of myself. We have the two creators of Dungeon Alchemist, who are, one of them is our lead dev, and then the other's our lead artist, and also, dev. We have another lead dev who just joined our team maybe like 6 months ago. We have a couple minor devs who, one of them also doubles as a technical artist that helps with like all the effect art and stuff like that and animations, but also helps with like coding and stuff around that. And then we have a minor dev who, sorry, I keep saying different devs, but I'm trying to name off what they do at the same time, so I might have mentioned them a couple of times, even though whatever. Anyway, so Quentin, for instance, he does a lot of the like quality of life up improvements and features and stuff. Like he made some of the abstract lighting tools and like played around with making them work and function. He's also worked on the new tool that allows you to what is it? Uh-oh. My computer just froze. I hope I didn't crash. Oh, Rotochopter, feel free to ask. What is going on here? I think my computer froze. So my stream PC is fine, but my EA PC seems to have crashed. Yeah, it's because I have a 2 PC setup. So I have one that's just for the stream and one is just for DA and other stuff. And it looks like when I was trying to close the video, something crashed. I'm giving it a second, but it looks frozen as all. I'm going to restart that PC so we can get on it as quick as possible. Sorry about that, everyone. It won't take long. I've got SSDs in this thing and it boots up rather quick. I guess we can run a quick commercial, Dungeon Alchemist themed commercial while we're down. What do y'all think?
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
Oh my goodness, this one's so close to booting back up. Let's just do one more ad.
Before the
Sorry.
long dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before
Who do we see?
I don't know. A goblin.
I kill him.
Come on, computer.
But before she does, Gilliam of Firth demands
Said you were
know the
fast.
goblin's name.
Don't make me a liar.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Definitely thinking the crash
Where
caused
do
an
you live
issue
there,
here because it's
Wobbin?
taking a moment
I
to
don't
boot.
think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever.
Okay.
Find family. Kill entire bloodline.
Almost back.
Like it.
Repairing windows,
Doing
that's
this?
sketchy.
Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
So, computer's still booting. I'm not sure what's going on. It says preparing Windows, which has got me a little sketched. We're going to just go into a quick BRB, little technical BRB. Give me a moment. Hey, sorry about that. I am almost back, actually. Took a moment. I had to restart my PC twice. The first time I came back, I thought my SSD crashed because it was not loading into my profile and my desktop was completely blank. I had none of my settings. Everything was blanked out, and I was confused and worried that my SSD had crashed. So I was like, hey, I got this cool SSD. I don't know what happened. Whenever my computer crashed earlier, and that's the first time it's happened in a while, something like that. It just crashed out and died on stream. Haven't had that in a while. Anyway, long and the short of it, after it reset, it was a little upset with me, to say the least. Okay. My computer is in... Let's see here. It is an Asus motherboard, for sure. And then I've got an Asus GPU as well. Oh no. But I haven't had crashes like this in a while. It was crazy. Anyway, I'm glad I'm back. Sorry about that, everyone. And appreciate your patience while I was, you know, completely critted. Had to roll a whole new character sheet. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me. What happened while I was gone? Did you all see the world? So, Mondu, Grub is basically like Carmine from Gears of War. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Gears of War game franchise, but there's like a character in the game named Carmine in the first game. And he's like cannon fodder. He's like a red shirt. But in each following game, they have one of the Carmine brothers in the game, and they're all cannon fodder. You know, that's a good question. You can kind of do a live campaign in Dungeon Alchemist right now, especially if you play in person through like a TV tabletop. Well, this is not good. Or say a projector tabletop. By the way, if DA ever like is slow when you're loading up, just hit wait. Oh man, Gears is fun. I've been playing the Gears of War franchise since, you know, my kid was basically a baby. I remember when the first one launched. But, I mean, to a degree, you can kind of play in Dungeon Alchemist right now. You know, you throw on the grid. You've got some grid settings in here that you can kind of adjust and personalize, turn up the transparency, change the color, whatever. Additionally, you can change the grid type between square and hex, so if you got a different map type, you know, that might help. Lastly, you know, it has token support to put tokens on the map and have them navigate the map, both by you moving them around or in first person through the icon there. I'm a bit like a titan in this city, though. Let's become kaiju. Thank you so much, TikTok, for all the likes, by the way. Ah! So this map here uses a trick called forced perspective, Rotochopter. So a lot of the things in this map are actually really small. Like, look at the square. I mean, the map overall is pretty big. But look, that's a normal square. This object is like only 6 squares. So they've scaled down these homes that they found on the Steam Workshop browser. Which if you search home or house, there's just tons of options to look at and download. Let's try house first. Excuse me. Ugh. But these act as just like a quick stamp-in house where you don't have to draw in the home. Especially if you don't want them, like, exploring these homes. If they're more just a set piece. Thank you so much. That sneeze got me hard. Oh my goodness. Hey, see you later, Mandu. Okay. The only grid you can scale in DA currently is the hex grid. You can set the grid like meters, so you can scale it. Now, keep in mind though, if you say export your map without a grid, half ogre, and then you run it through a virtual tabletop, they're going to have much better grid quality, right? And tools available. So Foundry, for instance, if you do a 5-foot grid, right, then that's normal. It's a 1-to-1 with us. But if you set it to a 10-foot, you can scale the grid and make the map feel larger or smaller if you keep it on 5-foot intervals. Or, you know, running on that, like you go down to 2.5 or if you go up to 10, you know what I mean? Sorry about that. Yeah, my sneeze came out of nowhere and I didn't have time to mute. I apologize. Nice, Bob. That is fantastic. Congratulations. Remember, if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, please let me know during the stream. I'd love to assist you in your map making. Make sure, you know, you've got all your map making needs covered end to end. You want to make sure you can run your campaign successfully. This is quite a big, like, city map at the end of the day. Apple user, welcome to the stream. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for this program. It's called Dungeon Alchemist. So our username, Dungeon Alchemist. We are available on Steam. There is a free demo, so you can kind of try it out, which allows you to build a tavern set in a forest. But we do offer the ability to build dozens of room types. You have this on Steam? You already are a part of our community? Well, welcome to the Damn Fam. That's awesome. But yeah, we're kind of just live streaming, showcasing maps. You can make a whole town, but I will say a disclaimer, when you start getting into large maps, it's kind of largely dependent on how powerful your computer is. The larger a map you make, the more of a burden it is on your computer, right? So for instance, this map is 138 by 179. Maybe if you have like a generic computer that, you know, you maybe can just do day-to-day tasks on, it's not like a heavy-duty gaming computer or something for like 3D modeling or anything like that, it might struggle making a big map. Essentially, the size of a map and the detail and interactivity and like assets that are added and the amount of like lighting and animation that you can add to a map is strongly dependent on your computer specs. So we made Dungeon Alchemist be able to run on almost any computer and make most like basic size maps up to about 50 by 50. Beyond that, though, it becomes a little bit troublesome unless your specs can match. Eye of the Night, that is very fun to do, actually. I appreciate that a lot. I love using the cinematic tools, for instance, to get into maps and take lovely screenshots. It's one of my favorite things to do. You can also get this camera, it's like a drone. You can get it on the ground and get like upward shots, which is kind of fun, like perspective. And then lastly, dropping a token in the map is also one of my all-time faves. Let's scale the token to be more appropriate to the size. If you hit this eyeball icon, the icon as I call it, you can walk around the map in first person, take screenshots, record. So you could kind of have like a walkthrough or even a chase scene of a map. Like maybe your players are being chased through the map by someone. You could set like, oh, this is fun. Set like, let's say this is their favorite tavern on this corner here, right? And they come to see the tavern, you know, this time, and guess what's going on? It's aflame. It is ablaze for some reason, right? And then imagine your players are walking to see their favorite tavern, but there's smoke in the distance. Let's add some smoke first, too. Let's see here. Go back to the token here. So you could be like in top down and you're like, as you head to your favorite tavern, you see smoke in the distance. You begin to sprint to the tavern and you realize it's on fire. What do you do next? So, I mean, essentially you could record this as an immersion kind of first person cutscene before they get there in top down. So it's kind of dependent on your system specs. It's not just based about your graphics card, but also your CPU and GPU. So the more RAM you have and the more powerful your GPU definitely helps. And currently CPU definitely helps a lot, but it's kind of case by case, because I will say this, because we're in early access, some of Dungeon Alchemist isn't fully optimized, right? So for instance, Dungeon Alchemist only uses one core of your CPU. So it can definitely be a lot more optimized around CPU usage. So it's kind of bottlenecked there. But it does use a lot of your RAM, depending on how many assets are present, or and a lot of your GPU, depending on how much animation is present, like water and trees and lights and animated objects and the like. Honestly, Half Ogre, there's so many cool ideas our community has shared. One of my favorite is the flyover, like a familiar flying over a map, right? So they'll go into like this cinematic mode and they'll just kind of fly over the scene like this and record it at the range the familiar can get to, right? This is probably too far, but you get the idea. And then they'll have that pre-set up, and because a lot of times the player does it over and over again. The DM who taught me this trick, they're like, one of my players has an owl familiar. They constantly fly it over battlefields to get the lay of the land, right? To get like a scouting of the land, right? So they'll pre-record scenes in areas they think the player will ask, and they already have it ready, and then they send it to that player like a little private handout to them in DM so they could see it. So Ash, can you give me all of your specs for your computer, please? Oh, Dyson, it was the 2-year-old typing, I see. But the first person and cinematic cameras can be used in a lot of very unique ways. Surprisingly, I haven't done much map making today, by the way. You notice that? I've done in fact, no map making. We've just been showing people stuff and answering questions, which is fine with me. I would like to get to map making eventually, but it is my favorite thing to teach you all some of the very powerful things you can do in Dungeon Alchemist. Have any of you ever used a landing page in your campaigns? Did you know Dungeon Alchemist can make landing pages? So you have her watching my stream? I don't know if that's responsible, Dyson. Thank you, no one. Hey, Apple user, thank you for that follow, by the way. Much appreciated. So landing pages, if you're not familiar, think of them as like a scene where you can immerse your players, like a loading screen for your campaigns. She will watch it and like it. In this house, we watch D&D, Dungeon Alchemist, and Dimension 20. The 3Ds of the apocalypse. Okay, so this map here, it's like, what am I looking at, right? It's a big map. But if you come over here, check this out. Let's get into this cinematic camera. You could look at it just like this if you wanted to, and it's like a loading screen for your players. Has some basic info, kind of their screenshots of their images, a map, fun little objects. But depending on the angle you take of this, you could also get some stuff in the background like this. So it's kind of like immersive in that way. I mean, that would run Dungeon Alchemist like a tank. You could easily build maps up to 250 by 250 with that thing. The RAM is a big part of it. Like this computer right now has 128 gigs of RAM. And I do that because the bigger the map, the more RAM it eats. But I can load some of the largest maps on the workshop without any problems. Remember, when you export Rotochopter too, there's several export settings you need to be aware of, all right? When you export in a map, you have orthographic top-down as an export option, and then you have 2 3D perspective options. So this one flattens it out and you lose all that 3D, but if you do to this one, watch the map in the background. It starts to pop. Then you go into a more 3D and it pops even more. So yeah, it depends on the map. And in this case, this one's really not good in a top-down. It's not meant for that. It's meant for those immersive camera angles. So you can grab like a little 30-second clip, put it on a loop for your players, right? And this is just one of many examples of landing pages on the workshop. Oops. I'm going to type landing page. No, you can go beyond that. I'm just saying I haven't really seen many in our community made that large. There's a creator in our community who made a map using virtual computing that's like 1,000 by 1,000. So it's definitely possible. It's just kind of the max you see offered by our community and shared on the workshop is around 200 by 200. Or around 250 by 250. This is a great landing page. Got a lot of little set pieces, some maps, some intrigue, world maps, maps that are blueprints, images of the players, probably interesting pieces of their kind of play history and items that, you know, make sense. Quite cool. Anyway, so you would set this as a scene in your campaign as like the loading screen when they load in. And I've heard of DMs that actually hide Easter eggs in here using like interactive tools like Monk's Active Tiles. So if their players click on things, they could find Easter eggs. And if they find them, they might get like unlocks or rewards. It's cool. You can even use things like Monk's Active Tiles so they could turn off the lights and have a version of the map without it glowing as much or something like that. Anyway. Moving on. I digress. Let's get back to building the map, shall we? I got to put in some serious work. Smart. Or their profile, like to their sheets and stuff. Oops, what am I looking for here? I am looking for my ancient cemetery. Let's load that up and then we'll build. I have got to get a damn hustle on, or I'll never get anything done. That was a horrible rhyme, but it is what it is. So y'all want to hear about the session last night? You want me to regale you with tales of our intrigue and silliness? So last night, the crew got together. By the way, we haven't chosen a group name because we've only been like, the group has only known each other for like 4 days in game time. So it's not like we like have a name for each other, you know, oh yes, we're Vox Machina. It's kind of hard to like label yourself when you don't even know each other and you're really just trying to like get through a moment together because you've all been kind of put into the same situation, right? So we all woke up in a jail cell together. We were all imprisoned pretty much by someone who got us thrown in jail wrongly, each of us. So we broke out of prison. Like, this is several sessions ago, right? Over a course of several sessions, we escaped the prison, got into the city. We found out we're in a massive city of giants. It's called Malaja Rock. It's a city on a massive island in a chain of islands, okay? So there's very few people who are small or medium size on this island. I'm a halfling, so I'm tiny. I stick out like a sore thumb there, right? I think at this point we're like 5 or 6 sessions in. So over the last few sessions, we escaped prison. We met up with a contact who got us in touch with an underground contact who could help us, you know, kind of shelter us, but also we're doing favors for her in return and getting back at the person who wronged us because they're kind of like the enemy of our friend at the moment. So they're helping us and we're helping them and it's working out all around, right? Okay, so the first mission we did last session was we stole a accountant's ledger, which had a lot of detailed information about the business operation. This last session, though, the most recent one last night, we were after one of the guy's enforcers, a lieutenant of his named Rorik. So the guy that we're after is named Rorik Bloodclaw. His lieutenant was named Torvas the Chain. So Torvas runs the docks for Rorik Bloodclaw. He essentially manages all of his incoming business on the docks. They have a private little warehouse on the docks where a ship can meet up and, get goods and transport them or deliver goods. The patron of the mission, Belhiri, she gave us a blueprint of the docks, so we kind of had an idea of layout, so we were looking at it, trying to create a sort of game plan. We knew there would be guards. We weren't sure how many, but we had at least an idea of the layout. We got there, and we started scouting the area. I have a familiar, so I took my familiar up in the air, and I flew it around as best I could, got up really high to see what I could. And, I ended up kind of getting an idea that there was a lot of guards on the outside, and we thought if we just went in fighting, it probably wouldn't be good, right? So we opted to take a more subtle approach. We have a couple people in our party with reasonable charisma scores. We asked them to kind of quarterback it and take on front-line communications as a group. We had a reason to be there. We had an invoice for the wine being delivered on the boat, so we were there to pick it up, oversee its delivery, and have it delivered to a place of our choosing. So basically, we showed the invoice, walked past the guards, walked around the warehouse, walked right up to the ship, inspected the cargo. We had a bunch of good rolls. Everything was going good, though we missed out on some opportunities to kind of do some persuasion and insight checks to see if people were lying, or maybe we could have persuaded them or intimidated them to do what we wanted to make things easier. But as it stands, we were kind of investigating the docks, went in the door, kind of looking for this Torvas the Chain, right? And when we went in, there were some guards in there, and basically, I guess they were guarding some slaves, and our charisma guy tried to deceive them, and he rolled poorly on the deception check, and basically it triggered initiative, and we had to start fighting, which something we didn't want to do because there was like a lot of guards on the docks. Started fighting, we cleared the general vicinity, and most of the other guards around didn't see us, so that was good, that was nice. But then at the same time, it kind of, wasted time and resources, if that makes any sense, right? So we kind of just got into a fight we really didn't want to. We were fighting a bunch of, ogres, dire wolves, guards, a bunch of different things. So we cleared out it was 4 rounds of combat, cleared out everyone in the vicinity. And then we pushed this door we could see, and we're like, maybe this will get us inside somewhere else, and we can, try and figure out where this boss is. We get to the door, it's locked from the outside, and our bruisers in the party want to try breaking it down, so they try to ram it. They fail on the check, and the door was just heavily reinforced and locked from the inside, so I guess we couldn't have bashed it down. I point out that I have Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments, so I break out the pigments, right? And we use Nolzur's to essentially create a door, a medium door on the wall where our teammates can walk through. And so we just made a door on the bigger door and walked through. You know how come sometimes there's a big gate and then there's a smaller door on it? That's what we did. We made the small door, like a medium door, walked right in, started investigating, looking around, and then we found a guy in a room. Turns out, we found the office of the guy we're trying to chase, but he had ran off because he heard us trying to break in and runned off. RUNNOFT. Anyway, he disappeared and was running, and we started clearing out the area, taking out guys. We didn't realize he had run yet, though. So we were kind of just investigating, looting. We found a ton of gold, gems, platinum, 2 magical items. We found a wand, which has evocation on it. I could tell because I was using detect magic. That's how I found the wand. And I could see its evocation on it, so I'm pretty suspicious that it's either a wand of magic missiles or a wand of fireballs at this moment. And I also found us a massive 12-sided die that was shifting its magical type as we looked at it. So it was like one type one moment, another type another. So I'm assuming when you roll it, it kind of just does something different each one, maybe kind of like a wild magic dice. It reminded me almost of the Die of Power from Futurama. Anyway, I haven't been able to do any further investigations because we were in combat and just quickly, or we were just out of combat, quickly looting, and then we were going to go chase the guy. But while we were looting, we realized we were in his office, and he ran. So we started chasing after him. We went through a door, got into a huge combat where we were actually prepped actions, and the people on the other side were prepped actions, so tons of prepped actions back and forth, and we were fighting in that room when we ran out of time. But we could see the guy running away through the door in the other room, so we know where he is. We just got to clear this room strategically and get on after him. So basically, tons of combat. And I will say the key moment of combat for me, the group rolled like 4 crits in a row. I'm not even joking you. Our first round of combat, it was like crit, 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 crit. And then everyone hit in the party, but there was 4 crits in a row. So it was insane, right? Right off the bat. And we're like, well, we just used up all our luck for the entire session. Oh my gosh. So we were dropping guys left and right with these crits, but then later on I was getting really good hits, but no damage. I was rolling 1s, 2s on my damage. It's so depressing sometimes with Firebolt to just get a really good hit, but not damage, you know? I'm trying to see what I can do to fix this. I might have to widen the road a little bit. This is also slanting weird. I don't like it. Let's fix this gate. How you doing, Moore? So essentially, I was hit. I hit all night. I didn't get a single miss, but I was just rolling 1s for damage. So I was just I shoot a fireball, but it kind of just limps out of the wand and falls on the ground right at his feet and hits him for 1 damage. Oh my gosh. My son and I were joking. He's like, well, at least at next level, you'll get 2d10s to roll, right? And I'm like, yeah, so then I can maximize my damage to 2 per turn. Excuse me. I finally took damage yesterday. First time ever. I could have prevented it too, but my son's like, don't waste a shield. It's only 3 damage. And I was like, fine, you're right. So the first time in the campaign ever I've taken damage. Between my shield spells, my luck rolls, my portents, I had never really taken any serious damage. It was quite a session. Anyway, it was entertaining to say the least. I don't have Fireball yet. So no one in our party is L5, right? We're all L4, and a couple of us are dips. So I'm a multi-level, my son's a multi-level, our fighter is a multi-level. Currently, though, our rogue, our paladin, and our cleric are just full builds, right? And it's fun to say the least. We've got a good assortment. We've got a wizard, me, which is actually kind of an artificer start and then wizard. I'm going to go straight wizard after this. If I do dip 1 more level, it'd be 1 more into artificer so I could get infusions. Because then I just have, for instance, Mind Sharpener robes are one of the most OP infusions in the game. It allows you to just succeed on constitution checks several times a day. So you don't have to roll, you just choose to succeed. It's actually, I think, probably the best infusion that you can get as an artificer. But I also started as an artificer and then dipped into wizard, and I did that because I wanted the saving throws offered by artificer and all the abilities. You know, I get access to certain weapons and certain armor types. So honestly, we don't play 2025 rules, so I hadn't really looked into the new cleric at all. The only 2025 rules we are going to be dipping into is actually bastions, which we haven't hit L5 yet, so we don't have a bastion yet. But I can say this dock that we're clearing out, in one of the desks we raided, I got like a 26 investigation check. We found a lockbox. The lockbox needed to get its lock picked. Our rogue picked the lock, right? Inside the lockbox was giant-sized documents, like they're poster size. We found Torvas's will, Torvas's insurance. We found the title of the docs and a bunch of other documents. We found a signet ring. And in the bottom of the drawer, I got an even higher investigation check and revealed there was a secret compartment, and it was filled with 1,000 GP of gems. Man, we found so much in this place. And I'm pretty sure we found the loot room before we killed the boss. So essentially, we found the dosh before we actually finished the mission. Like, I doubt we're going to find more magical items. Maybe the guy we fight might have something on him, you know? But we found like 6,000 GP in gold stuffs last night. And it was because my insane investigation checks. And the fact that I also had, detect magic on. I'm still concentrating on that spell at the end of our session, by the way. We were in combat, and I just kept ducking behind cover so I could use my cantrips and not break concentration on detect magic. Because I want to be able to see if there's any magic items around, or, someone casting a spell or something. Oof, I gotta shift that angle quick. You look at it and you start kind of seeing the outline of where it's going over time. Also, you can turn on the grid and kind of have something to follow to a degree. It helps a lot. Sorry, I've been so super focused on building the last little bit. Has there been any questions that came in that I missed? My sincerest apologies. Ash, that's crazy. That's cool. I'm jealous. This group, right? I love if we could play more, but we only get together once a month currently. But yeah, I found a sack with 2,800 GP and 120 PP in it. No, we found it was actually 3,800 and 120 PP. So it was like, $5,000 there, and then 1,000 in gems. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. The session last night was all over the place. We are still very much in the dock building, chasing Torvas the Chain. From our understanding, he's just kind of running around through the building trying to avoid us and get people to fight for him because he's a bit of a coward. One of his guards, we actually subdued one of them, and we roped him up and asked him questions. We told him we wouldn't kill him if he stopped fighting, and he saw us, 5 of us versus him, or 6 of us versus him. He's like, okay, we got a persuasion check. So I chose like a halfling, hospitality halfling, right? I'm not sure 100% which book it's from, but I just was in all the builds, and I thought it was interesting. And they get like a D4 bonus to persuasion checks. And I also made sure I took persuasion as one of my, abilities. And so I actually have some good persuasion checks sometimes. So I'll come in like a level-headed person with just reason and talk to them and just be like, hey, we don't really want to hurt you. We don't want to kill you. And to be honest with you, the only reason we attacked you is because you attacked us first. If you lay down your arms right now, we'll stop. We'll talk, Is it Eberron? Probably. Anyway, I really like it because of the innate spells that are given on the list. Like, I have access to aid. Right out the gate, I have access to, like, purify food and drink and what is it called? The little invisible servant. I also had prestidigitation right out the gate. Like, I had a lot of, like, spells that are just innate spells. But having aid as a wizard is not to be underestimated. You're fighting Xanathar? That's crazy. So I basically, I don't know, my wizard is kind of like a jack of all trades, fill in all the gaps kind of guy. I really enjoy it. Offhand, Rev, I don't know. We don't really have that close of integration with Foundry to the point that they're like letting us test their new internal stuff in advance. We usually have to wait for it to come out and then see if it'll work, So at this point, we're probably just as much in the know as you are, if that makes sense. Half ogre, I'm sorry, man. That really stinks. That would make me SADGE, Sag. Honestly, like, that's really a bummer. By the way, the guy we took out, or we're chasing, is a half ogre. Which is a bummer because I can't use hold person on him, dang it. So I just took hold person as a spell when I leveled up, and I kind of made the mistake, I thought giants fell under personages, but they're their own class. I didn't realize that. So we've ran into very few, like, things that classify as persons. Because we're on an island full of giants, if you will. So while we were earlier in a previous session, we were hiding out in an inn and tavern while we were waiting for a contact to meet up with us to help us kind of go into hiding. And while we were there, I noticed a quest board, and I thought, I'll go check it out. And the quest board had quests to essentially, it had a couple quests that were worth like nothing, but one of them said a reward of 5,000. And it was 5,000 per recovered party of lost parties. So there's these group of like miners that go into like the deepest, darkest, most dangerous mines. And I guess they're like part of a big guild in the area. And several groups of them went missing in this well-known like delving area. And so that quest could pay up to 15K if we can recover them and bring them out. The problem being, though, is we are super focused on proving our innocence at the moment and doing all the stuff we're doing. So we've been doing all these other main quests. That's more of a side quest. But we need some things to do this quest because over half of our party, 2/3 of our party doesn't have dark vision. That's like one of our biggest drawbacks as a party is we lack dark vision. So like I don't have dark vision as a halfling, right? Would be nice if you could do a spline. Our next update will allow you to draw objects as like big groupings and like create a brush out of any object. So it would kind of speed that up tremendously, essentially allowing you to paint any like object as a paintbrush. That's awesome, Rotochopter. I don't disagree. I don't doubt you. Here, I'm trying to find a clip of the object brush. So it allows you to select any object and in essence turn it into a brush. But they're experimenting on doing this with like walls and stuff. The thing SQL though is I'm doing this by hand for a reason. I kind of want it to be a very specific look and feel, and also this is off the grid, so it would normally like snap onto this stuff and be really easy. And I could just boop, 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 boop. I'm actually challenging myself to make it by hand. So that's kind of part of what I'm doing. Costa Rica is an interesting country for sure. I had a buddy who lived there for a few years because his business or a business he bought was based there, and so he was kind of just centered there for a few years while he was getting his business started up. And he would send me pictures all the time. Like he'd go like see crocodiles because like I guess Costa Rican crocodiles are really prevalent in a few areas, and they're like a protected species or something like that. But yeah, I've heard it's like a really beautiful country. Ash Baker, so what you're talking about is called spline generation, right? To be honest with you, I don't know if we'll ever add spline because our system is based off of a mapping grid, right? Especially for the generation. But like I said, there will be tools that allow you to draw and generate walls that are kind of whatever. But the problem for splines to work, you have to be able to reshape and adjust the object size at will. And these are all a very specific size. And when you scale them, they go up on all sides, not just one. So, like, splining would require the object to stretch along one axis, and we don't allow that currently. But imagine things like this where you could, say, take an object and paint it as, like, a improvised wall. You know what I mean? That is, like, a more of a, not necessarily a structured wall. You can kind of already do that to a degree. I mean, Ash, you can do that already. You're aware of that, right? You have the wall tool, and you can disable all the objects, and even the floor, and just generate walls with it. And this, we could take and rotate. Gotta get it lighter right along this edge here. Trying to line it up just right. Problem is, we just have to gut DA and make it different from the ground up. Remember, Dungeon Alchemist has an internal proc gen AI that essentially is designed to work on a grid system, right? And the grid system is designed around what? Tabletop gaming. Tiny Glade is just a map making tool. It's not really designed for tabletop gaming, while it can be used as such. Really simplistic map and like just generic design, which is what it excels at. Unfortunately, when you start generating structures in DA, they have to be tied to a grid. So splining becomes somewhat difficult. I'm sure with time they might offer it, and I've asked for it many times. It's not like I don't want it. It's just not something that is possible right now in the current setup of Dungeon Alchemist. Not like we have a switch turning it off or something, you know what I mean? But here, like, I just generated a whole wall. So you bought Dungeon Alchemist to help you design your cabin that you and your wife are building? That's pretty cool, actually. It's not that it's not a priority, it's just it was never something we intended to do from the get-go. And so essentially we'd have to gut DA from the ground up to accommodate to it. Does that make sense? I understand splining, and I've been using it in tools since I was a kid. Like, I understand how it can speed up map making, and especially in certain aspects. I just think overall, though, there is a certain quality aspect that is lost when you start stretching out assets to make them into proper splines. And it has a lot of geometry and things involved to make it work properly. I would just say, patiently wait and see what the next update offers. And if it's not good enough, maybe in the future we'll have something else. Oh, shoot. Accidentally resized that. I'm already telling I'm not going to like this angle. Is it really boring watching me place fences? I get it. It could probably be done in like a second if I didn't have to just place these by hand. That's the woes of early access, and that's kind of part of, how Dungeon Alchemist will be at times. There's little things that seem like it should be very standard in a map making tool that aren't there, and other things it's like very full featured and detailed. It's because, we're building it as we go. What would it take to make window and door abstracts? I mean, it would take you to just use the wall like this and make sure that you put a window on it, or a door with a window on it, or just make it a floating window. Just to give you an example here. You can add doors using these, so why not windows too? As long as it's empty PNG space, the green will be blank. One moment. So here's like an example of a door. This is how people did freestanding doors before we offered doors on the workshop, right? So you can download a door from the workshop as a freestanding. Alternatively, using abstracts to wrap it around, you could do this in a lot of different ways. And abstracts are very unique because they're fully customizable. Here, let me show you one that, let me see. Or, no, where is it? It did have some walls and doors. I don't know where they're at. Where did it go? Did I delete it? No way. Okay, let me show you another example though. Okay, got like this round abstract here. I used to have a whole example of like windows and doors and stuff, and I don't know where they're at. But here is one that's like a curved wall, and this one just, it's blank in this space, and that's just blank PNG. So it's possible to turn this into a window now. You would just have to apply the image correctly to the layout, which is available, the texture template on our website. So in this case, it would be this one. So you have all this green area as the safe space. Everything outside of it is blank. But in this case of a window, you could just leave it as this area only and just draw a window in there or put an image of a window and leave the panes as blank, kind of PNG. Don't use any of the other space, just this side and this side. Dang, where is that? I am so irritated. I know I had some cyberpunk walls. Oh, maybe in here? Yep, okay, I found them. Check this one out. This one is like a cyberpunk, kind of like a metal door wall with rivets, and it's got a window in it. And this can be moved all over. This can be resized. This can be raised up and down. Abstracts rely on you to create the art to insert it. It's an advanced user tool, my friend, Run Amok. So we don't make the abstract art for you to put in it. We give you the tool to insert the art you want to. So you could create a window and insert it in this as long as it fits in the template provided. Though I would just say uploading a 3D model of a window would probably be much easier. I will say, though, most likely our next update will have freestanding doors and windows, so it's probably a moot point at the moment. If you invest a ton of time into it, you may end up kind of regretting it. Remember, and I understand you probably want a freestanding window or door for anything above the first level if you're doing it by hand, right? Essentially, you're going to have to supplement that right now on the workshop. I meant abstracts that work like those, like the window shown in the wall. I am so confused by what you want then. Can you please elaborate on it? I thought you meant the abstract itself, and now you're saying it's not the art. I'm so confused. Sorry. I apologize for misunderstanding. I definitely want to comprehend and help. So please, if you could further elaborate on that, we'll try my best to understand. So we advance in adding all these customizable, these are called abstract objects. These are, you can put in whatever you want. They're a blank slate that you can insert an image into, right? So in this case, I have like magic circles. So you could put a magic circle on the ground, or you could insert, say, a template that does measurement. So you could add a measuring tool into your campaigns for like when your players are attacking or doing whatever. I mean, sky is the limit. As long as it's a JPEG or a PNG, it can go in here. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Half Ogre. It is an advanced concept. It's not something that's very straightforward. I mean, even an advanced tutorial wouldn't guide you and hold your hand through editing it in your own photo editor. You know what I mean? So it will only teach you the basics, kind of like what I'm teaching you. But what we have on our wiki is one of the most advanced concepts of it currently. When the devs created this, they kind of saw it as like, hey, this is a advanced tool meant for, you know, users that have the know-how in post. And ultimately, I can guide you through it a little bit, but it will be something you're going to have to do the editing on your own side. You know what I mean? So with this Half Ogre, looking at it think of these as like a cube, right? And the cube's been unfolded. No, I'm not saying it's less advanced. I'm saying you might need to just double down on how we perceive this here, and I'm going to walk you through it really quick. Okay, so when you look at this image, right? Every one of these templates, they're all the exact same size. Okay, 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels, 1024 by 1024, a perfect square template. Every template is the exact size, but inside of them has different safe space or areas considered safe space. So have you ever used like a stencil before? When you're drawing, you can lay down a stencil on top of a paper and you can paint in it or draw in it, and it only draws in the safe area of the stencil, right? Leaving a nice imprinted image, right? So this here, for instance, the cube, right? It's an unfolded cube. You have a box. Look at a box, right? It has 6 sides. Here you have the top of the cube represented in a flat image, the bottom of the cube, and all the sides, right? Now this one here is a wall, okay? Think of a cereal box, right? You've held a cereal box before, Half Ogre, right? At this time, I can't speak to if anything like that is coming out in the future. Run amok. Sorry, my man. So, Cheerios, right? The shape of a Cheerio box is a rectangle, right? It's a 3D rectangle, right? You have the top of the box is usually where you open it, right? You have the sides of the box that are the thin sides, and then the big wide sides with all the ads and, you know, all the whatever. Chutzpah about Honey Nut Cheerios. So this is an unfolded cereal box. Imagine you took a razor on the side of a cereal box, right? On one of the corners, and you just cut down the corner. And then you laid the cereal box out flat, okay? This is that cereal box. So you have the top, the bottom, the sides, the big sides, the little sides. So this green area is an unfolded cereal box, right? This is the most simple Eli 5 I can give for how these work. So when you look at this particular, which one are you struggling with the most right now? Let's look at that one and we can explain it. Is it one of the walls you're having trouble with? All of them except the cube? Oh, goodness, I got my work cut out for me. Okay, so the cube, you understand. The wall is essentially the same thing. When you look at a wall, okay, especially the object in DA, right? This wall, right? You have the top of the image, right? You have these big sides, and then the flats, the thin sides, and the bottom. Just like in the template. Top, big, little sides, bottom. So if you build your image representative of this, okay, this is the front side of the wall, this is the back side, this is the top of the brick or whatever the wall is, this is the sides of the brick, and this is the bottom, right? So let's look at an image that would be representative of this. Stand by. So, looking at this, this is the door that I showed you earlier, right? This is this image right here. So essentially you have what acts like the front, the back, the sides, right? And the tops. It's an unfolded 3D image, right? And surprisingly, actually, when we texturize like doors and walls, this is what it looks like in a texture map. It doesn't look like a straight up like image of it. It looks like a flattened out image. So this is what's called a texture map. So essentially this is an unfolded door, right? Does that make sense? And when you look at it like this at all? It is like paper craft. It's like pepikuru. You have something flat and you turn it into a solid. So let's talk about here. And remember, you don't have to use up all of this safe space, right? You can not anywhere in this safe space, it creates something, right? So here is like that cyberpunk wall I showed you earlier. Right? Oops. So there is the unfolded cyberpunk wall, or like a ship wall, or whatever you want it to be, right? Here's another example. There's a few in here. So you have to look at it from the perspective of this object. Think, what would the top down of it look like? What would the sides of it look like? What would the bottom of it look like? What would the front and the back look like, right? Now, that is just the walls. Let's look at, yeah, this is an ice wall, but it's round. So when you look at the round walls, they have a little bit different layout, right? So this is like the custom round wall, right? Just a basic one. So notice it says this side, this is the big wide area of the wall. This is the outer edge of the wall, and this is the top and the bottom, because the top and bottom would match most likely, right? My wife tried to make one of these, and I think we didn't get this side right at the time because the template didn't show it, but I'll show you kind of what it looks like here. So that's like the ice wall kind of thing, you know? And at the end of the day, that just kind of looks like this. We couldn't quite get this one. I was hoping to get these to match up to this, right? These little side blocks should be all the same size as the blocks that you see from here. So it should be like, there's a block, there's a block. This one was kind of a failed attempt, but you get the idea overall. Anyway, I'm hoping this is helping you get a little bit better grasp on it. I guess I could make like an updated video. The only problem is at the end of all this is you're going to have to dive into like a photo editor and make a lot of this stuff, or a graphic editor. And that's something that, like, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of different tools out there, and I can only teach you for like the one I know. So it's really just a matter of kind of unwrapping a 3D shape into a flattened shape and kind of perceiving that 3D shape as an unrolled shape, if that makes any sense at all. I hope it's a little bit easier to kind of understand now, and I'm sorry if I came across as rude earlier. I definitely wasn't trying to like insult your intelligence or anything. Let's see here. Okay, cool. I was a little worried. Nice, Rotachopter. You gonna do some paper craft? So earlier I was talking about that big quest we found. It's in a big set of caves. We don't have any night vision, right? Dark vision. So we're probably going to turn around and use all the money we got in this quest to buy goggles of the night if we can get through it. Because goggles of the night equals night vision goggles. And if we can buy at least, 2 or 3 pairs, over 2/3 of the party will have night vision, which is much more helpful. Might even wait until we all have night vision. We also do have a Twilight Cleric, which is helpful. That Twilight Cleric, my wife, she has 300 feet of dark vision, and she can share dark vision with her ability called Eyes of the Night once a day for an hour, and it's 300 feet to everyone for an hour, but the problem is that's only an hour. So I don't know what I feel about that. Like, we're going to have to make some decisions. If we want to push for this huge mission, we have to invest. But then when everyone in the party has dark vision, it'll probably go over a lot better, I mean, we have lighting sources, tons of magical options for lighting. So our cleric has light and is also the Twilight Cleric, so it can share Eyes of the Night for at least an hour a day, or they can use a spell slot to do another hour. Additionally, she has spells that emanate light, like her Twilight Sanctuary and stuff like that. I have magical tinkering, which allows me to tinker a tiny object and give it 5-10 light, so 10 feet bright, or 10 feet dim, 5 feet bright. So I could do it like on a ball bearing or a rock or whatever, so we always have light. I also, carry around a hooded lantern and a few torches and some oil. So I'm always prepped there. And then a few people in our, party had, like, one person had dancing lights, another person had light. So I think between that, torches, all the lighting sources, we should be okay. But yeah, a group, 2/3 of us not having dark vision, it is kind of a hindrance if you're going into a place that is primarily dark, right? So a dungeon that is several sessions worth of play that is, incredibly dark, probably we're going to need dark vision or lots of tools to compensate, right? To be honest with you, I still prefer to use light in dungeons, even when you have dark vision. That way you don't get disadvantage on your perception checks. As a artificer too, I also have anti colors, right? Because you only see shades of gray. People can hide in dark vision much easier. So you fail perception checks without light to help perceive them hiding. Anyway, it is just something I love. I have a torch even when I have dark vision, or a light source, if I can. A floating, a light orb following us is a great idea, or a drift globe or whatever they're called, right? Or a spell that has, constantly follows you, like, or you can emanate light from an area. That's kind of my go-to. Mainly just because it levels the playing field against dark creatures in the night. Maybe they have actually disadvantage when there is light. It's a good idea sometimes. Not always bad. Okay, I need to readjust that. That is bad there. That one is way off. Looks better. Can anyone tell me what's Hollywood's obsession with Jared Leto? Like, the dude gets cast in, like, all these movies, and I just don't get it. Eldritch Adept Devil's Sight is a good option. I just don't know if I want to drop a whole feat just to have dark vision, Might be worth it. PaizoCon registration just went up. Interesting. Might do another panel this year. Would y'all come hang out if I did a panel showing how to use Dungeon Alchemist, teaching, map making and exporting and tips and tricks and whatnot? If I did a panel for PaizoCon, it's an online convention, which would be I streamed to their channel and you tune in and watch if I did it. But last year I did a panel for them and it was a pretty good success, actually. I'll talk to Wim and see if we can get in with them and get a panel again this year, because it went over rather well. As the community manager, I often get these little surprise roles in things like that, where I'll get to do an interview or I get to do a panel. It's pretty fun, actually. I enjoy it a lot. Obviously, I enjoy streaming, and that's just more of that. I don't know. I guess I enjoy people listening to me at the end of the day. We will go to the panel if you bring tacos, Drake. Well, first off, tacos are delicious, but I don't know if I could bring enough for everyone. This does sound like an epic plan. Maybe we should Kickstarter a taco bar. Too far. Bring your own taco day? Nice. Just be careful if you have too many tacos, okay? Because the taco smell settles to the lowest point and it lingers. Taco Alchemist. Oh my gosh. It's already too late for April Fools, but that would have been a really good April Fool's joke. We're starting our next Kickstarter, Taco Alchemist. Don't act like you're not impressed.
I like tacos. Grr! What are you doing?
Having flashbacks. Yes, I'm doing the Kickstarter for the tacos. I just show up. I'm an online personality, and we're kickstarting the tacos. Can you please provide them? Thank you. 150, please, at least. Maybe we should just throw the panel at a taco bar. Cat fur just landed on my eyes, and now I feel blind. I need to start putting in areas to get into these places, because right now it's like, where do you get in? There's an entrance. There's an entrance. I'm kind of putting them in alternating spaces. But I could also have them match closely. Ah. Rip off. I guess I'll put the entrances after I finish off all the gates. So, did y'all do anything interesting this weekend? Greater Taco Supreme. Naming tacos after healing potions actually is a great idea. Actually, I'm kind of... Wait, are tacos already named after potions? Taco Supreme. Greater Taco Supreme. if you eat a Greater Taco Supreme Crunch, you also get +2 AC. Drake, have you checked out some of the assets shared on the workshop by our community? There is actually like a very vibrant community of creators that make Fallout and apocalyptic maps. There's a lot of maps on the workshop already that fall into that. For instance, there's already, over a dozen maps shared just with the Fallout tag alone. Downloading these maps, though, when you download them, gives you access to tons of apocalyptic, type stuff. Search Vault, because I think there's some Vault ones, too. Why am I not typing? Vault. I know there's a crazy Vault in here. Where is it? Oh, Vault 234. This one's nuts. So we got Vault 234, Floor 1, Floor 2, and Floor 3. But these ones, when you download them, there's tons of Fallout and Apocalypse-themed assets as you trigger the download, and it asks you if you're interested in downloading them. So watch this. Saves you a ton of time. Though I will say this, after we leave early access, there's a strong chance that we'll offer expansion packs that are optional expansions. Essentially, think of Dungeon Alchemist, but a pack that's, maybe $10, $20 that adds sci-fi or cyberpunk or, apocalypse assets. So when I open this map, though, it's like, hey, all of these assets are in this map. You need to download them if you want it to look good. I could say no, but if I do download, now they're in my collection, and I can, use them in my own builds. So it saves you tons of time looking for 3D models. But search Vault or search Fallout on the workshop in either maps or the asset collection. You're bound to find a ton. This map will load with nothing because I decided not to download any assets. It's going to be very blank. Sorry about that. Because I didn't want to spend 10 minutes downloading a gig of assets through Steam because it's kind of slow today. That being said, Drake, I encourage you to go to the workshop tab in the top of your Steam, or in top of Dungeon Alchemist, right here, where it says Steam Workshop, and then just type under Browse Maps or Browse Assets, Vault or Fallout. I would just do it in the maps, though, because if you download a good map, you get tons of assets. It's like a bounty of assets. But this here is just like kind of a stripped down version without all this stuff in it. And it actually looks like a pretty decent vault already. Like I didn't download over 800 megabytes of assets to fill into this. So anyway, you get the idea. Let's, while I'm opening up my map. Did I mention what our table calls our group right now because we just have a placeholder like name? Because we currently don't have a name for our group because we've only played like 5-6 sessions, and like I said, the characters have only known each other for like 4 days in game time. So it's kind of weird for them to like have a name for themselves. But the group's current name is Fighting Mongooses. Because we just needed like a team name temporarily, and we're like, Fighting Mongooses. That's a good name. Cran pirates. Interesting. Oh my gosh, during our session, I had to use a portent kind of in a moment of desperation to make sure we took out a runner. There was a guy running away from us who we thought might alert other guards to our presence, and we just didn't want the whole complex down on us. So it was my wife's turn next, and she was going to do a chromatic orb on the guy, and I made sure she critted it. So she critted the guy and hit him for like 45 damage and just disintegrated him. The DM described it as he was running full speed to get away, and then after you hit him, he still moved a couple of steps. But as he he was running, he began to slow down, turn, and you could see a solid hole through his chest. Oh, it was fun. I mean, we'll kind of explore the tale of what happened over the next few weeks, but I did kind of talk about a bit of it earlier. Or are you talking to Mandu, not me? Mandu's way more interesting, right? Putting in fences. What's crazy about it, Mandu? It sounds pretty run-of-the-mill at the moment. Though we have done some shenanigans. Like our current benefactor, the person who has us like holed up in a safe house and has been providing us supplies and intel and stuff and missions to follow. She's very flashy. She likes to show off, and she's like in a gang war, a turf war, I guess, with like several different people. But she likes people to know it's her doing it, causing a ruckus when it happens. So like when we go out, we have to wear armor with her branding and crest on it. And like anything we do, we have to say Belhiri did this, you know? So it's like kind of funny in that regard. Like we're causing absolute chaos in this city. I'm assuming, you know, this will come to an impasse at some point. She gave us these coins that can be used to bribe guards, I guess, and we've not had to use one yet. Didn't you say you had a barbarian that died like in a very epic death recently? Was that something you were telling me about, Rev? Was that you or was that someone else? No! Look how close those are. I might just put posts on these in the corners where they meet. By player initiative, you mean players make up their own minds and kind of do silly things instead of just kind of by the book? Is that what you're saying? Here, let me open my notes for loot for yesterday, actually. So it's dated, and it says what we were doing. Money, bags of coin. Okay. 3,800 GP, 120 PP, bags of gemstones, 1,000 GP, a signet ring. Items, level 3 magic missile scroll. Items, 12-sided die that emanates different schools of magic and a magic wand emanating the evocation. 50 pounds of assorted documents, Torvas's will, Torvas's life insurance, Rorik's business documents. Oh, I forgot one. Doc. Title. I'm pretty sure this dock, if we can salvage it without catching it on fire, this is going to be our bastion. Because I asked the DM very specifically, I said, hey, you know, I know we're not playing 2025 rules, but is there any chance we could try out bastions and kind of play around with them? This is the blueprint, by the way. We were given this as kind of like essentially the intel we had of it. They're like, this is the floor plan. So we ended up like going in, just talking to them, walked around, right? Walked all past guards. There's a boat docked here. We went onto the boat. There's actually a dock there. And we went onto the boat, looked at the cargo, accepted it, signed some paperwork, came back, went over here through this door, and that's when everything went to shiz because we had a bad deception roll, had to get into combat. In here were some slaves. We freed those slaves, gave them weapons of all the people we killed in combat, and told them to run north for their freedom, to escape out the north docks. So don't know what they did, but they're causing a ruckus on the other side of the map, which is keeping people off of our backs. We ran down here. There's a door. We put Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments on this door, snuck through, used pigments to seal the door behind us. The door was locked from the inside with a big bar, so it's like not easy to get in, so no one knows where we are when we came in here. We started clearing out these rooms, fighting people. Oh yeah, I forget, my team tried to ramrod this before they went through it first. Failed, right? So they made a huge ruckus. We came through here, started fighting, started looking through everything. We realized this was Torvos's office and he's not here. We got all the loot out of this room and this room, magic items, and we started running through here, fighting people, and he ran into this space. So the session ended with us fighting a group in here, getting kind of to the point where we might chase him here. As it stands, though, we're probably going to have to clear this place out or do something to cut him off. We were already talking about what we might do to catch up with him. I don't want to split the party per se, but with Nolzur's, we can take shortcuts. You know what I mean? Not bad. Looks good. This actually turned out a lot better than I thought it would be. So this whole area over here is intended to be like pauper graves. So it'll be, you know, grave sites for the less fortunate. Probably some burial mounds, cairns, pits, just things that, like, not necessarily like they had a lot of money to do a burial, you know? Honestly, Mondu, I appreciate that. Like, we try to stay engaged and have fun as a group. So at the moment, I mean, the DM Eric wanted us to kind of have a name just so we could have a little name placeholder for our group because ultimately, we want to have something, right? I think with time we'll come up with a name, but for now it's mostly just Fighting Mongooses. Fighting Mongoose. So it's a joke, actually, from Futurama. I don't know if y'all have ever seen Futurama, but there's a point where, like, I guess there's an episode where the professor ends up finding a way to go into an alternate universe, or he creates an alternate universe and they can go inside of it. And basically, he when they're in this alternate universe, they run into, like, different versions of themselves that are really close to the same, but slightly different in a few peculiar ways, right? So, sorry, 1, 2. That'll be where that one goes. So when they're in Universe A and they're talking about Universe 1, Universe 2, and one group's like, no, we're not going to be Universe 1, you're going to be Universe 2. And they're like, well, how about we'll be Universe A, and you guys will be Universe 1. Or you guys be Universe B. And they're like, because this one feels more like a B, And then Fry's like, what about the Mongooses, the Fighting Mongooses? That's a good name. And so it's just a funny, dumb throwaway joke from Futurama that essentially my family and I love that show and have adored it over the years, and so we just kind of threw that out as a quick suggestion for a team name. Like when you're a kid, remember when you were a kid on the school field and you'd come up with team names for like kickball or soccer and recess, or basketball, and you're like just naming off animals or something? Be like, no, this animal, we're the lions. No, we're the mongooses. Oh, yeah? You know what I mean? Just something like that. Hey, Broken King. I like the Bender GIF, if you will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right there is where I delete. Four, 5, 6. We'll delete that one. Hey, they match here. I've been kind of trying to delete them every like 5th or 6th. Oof. Move these here ever so slightly. Yeah, that's not bad, actually. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one will be gone after I meet these. Getting cramp in my hand from all the fence I've been laying today. Look at all that. Dude, I know. I spend way too much time on stuff like this. Like, arguably, this map could have been done ages ago, right? But then, look at all this little stuff. This little place here looks so beautiful. This is the caretaker's cottage, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen it. The post hole digger is worn out. But I call this the caretaker's cottage because this massive cemetery, you know, someone has to take care of all the plants and the roads and clean up the graves and dig the graves. So I figured there'd be a caretaker, right? And he probably lives on site to keep an eye on things, and just so he's always here, kind of managing it, making sure things aren't amiss. But it's a beautiful little property with an on-site garden and facilities to work and store, you know, dirt and stone and potted plant stuff when he's in between potting different areas or like putting in new plants and changing out plants. He's got his own kind of garden and pond and his chickens and his well. But on top of that, his little private greenhouse with his various plants from all over, you know, different realms and rare plants of all kinds and rare fruits, etc. He's a bit of a green thumb. Of course, you've got his shed back here with some tools and overflow storage. Beautiful property, right? And this took me like a bunch of time to make because I only did it a little bit each week. I laid out all these by hand. Like all these stones are just one at a time, slightly angled. I love it though. I think it looks great. Here, got like this beautiful grave site, which was intended to be like a royal grave for like a, you know, the royal family and whatnot. And then over here we have more just kind of medium graves, generic run-of-the-mill, you know, average household graves. Just different ones all over is what makes it interesting in that regard. A lot of it is off the grid and done by hand, so it just makes it so incredibly detailed. I can't wait to release this map to the public, to share it, you know, with our community so people can use it in their campaigns. I'll be honest with you, Rev, I understand where you're at. You know, you're trying to, you know, build yourself a hobby income with your map making. So you got to find a balance between, you know, good usage for a map, you know, that has not necessarily lowest common denominator, but the highest cross average of, you know, users who would get a use out of the map, right? Mixed with a good enough detail that catches attention. But you don't want to put in like a sunken cost fallacy where you're putting dozens of hours into a map that only nets you, you know, a few dollars. Now, early on, though, especially in your hobby income, you're probably going to run into that a lot more. But later on, as you get a steady, you know, subscription base and commission base, it'll balance out. I have put it in a few spots, actually, Asmo. Look at this. There's a little bit of graffiti here. It's actually a custom abstract that Mrs. Mac made. I tend to put a few little watermarks around. I also do it like that because you can only see it at like an extreme angle, like in first person or something. One thing you can do is, I can recommend, Rev, is remember, there's going to be like a set amount of like encounters people want. They're generic, right? Oh, like you could do a whole set of forest encounters and desert encounters and city encounters, kind of follow along the thread of gameplay, right? And one thing I think is good for any commission map makers, Patreon map makers, you know, it's a good idea to consider streamlining the DM's play. Right? The DM, like, a lot of us are DMs here, right? What is the biggest, like, adversary to a DM? I think it's time, right? Just having the time you need to prep for all the things you want to do for your campaign. Tools like Dungeon Alchemist are designed to save you time. And if you, as a creator, a map maker, maybe make a map and have several variations of it where it has, you know, night, day, snow, or several encounters tied to a same map so they can shift encounters or just roll a dice and pick one so it saves them time, like even some backstory for maps or information tied to it. You know, sometimes if you have a hook on a map, like a little bit of backstory and information, like a paragraph tied to it, it can really, really help, a DM along the way, especially a new DM. We all kind of get into DMing at different stages. Some of us have been doing it since, the 80s, and some of us just got into it last week. So your journey as a storyteller is, different. You're at a different level, and sometimes a little bit of something guiding you down the right path or holding your hand and getting you through some of these difficult early encounters as a DM is nice. So if you're making a map that has detail, maybe add in like a one sheet with it that highlights points of interest and gives them possible encounters to it, so it fleshes it out with more purpose, not just a heavily detailed map. Does that make sense at all, Rev? So you're justifying the time spent in it with an accompanying document. May take a little bit more time, but then you're giving a value added on the product that people might, be saving time with. One thing I wanted to do when I was in your shoes before I became the community manager is I was considering setting up like a Patreon, and what I would do is I'd make generic run-of-the-mill maps that have some minor detail to them, right? But they cover a lot of the main encounters, right? So, here's a bridge, here's a different bridge, here's a different bridge. Lots of different bridges and the encounters on them. Here's a bridge at a castle, here's a bridge in the woods, here's a bridge here's a toll bridge in the middle of a forest, whatever, anything, or over a vast river. So yeah, scheduling issues, particularly Sandora, and time is one of the biggest, it's the biggest bad of all. Getting all your players on the same schedule, and also, making sure that you have the time as a DM to prepare for the encounters you're trying to make, right? Hey, see ya, Chopper. Have a good one. Thanks for being here. But what I'm saying is if you have a one sheet that's like a D10 worth of encounters for every map you have, or even a D6, and it's just like, on this road, you roll a D6, and one of 6 encounters can apply to this. You have a bunch of bandits, you have a traveling merchant, you have a person who needs help, or you hear a cry off in the distance of the forest. You could have a bunch of generic encounters, couple combat, couple interactive, and even just a plain walk through the environment with nothing, because sometimes nothing happens, right? It doesn't always have to be an encounter. But if you give these kind of tools to a player, it also makes your map stand out and speeds up the process for them, but adds value to your detailed maps. Yeah, it is an encounter table, but how many map makers make their maps into encounter tables to save time for the DM? Think about it. You're just cutting a step out for them. Put loot tables on the map. Put, all sorts of things on there for them with a one sheet that's accompanied for your map. And then in the overlay of your map, put little dots with numbers for all the points of interest for the one sheet. I mean, it's really, I'm surprised more people don't do this. You can highlight little things like labels, but it'd be fun if you just incorporated your own dot with a number on it, and then you just put, 1 is the cathedral on a one sheet that's on the side. Heck, you could even have a one sheet on the side like this with data in the map, so it shows like a key on the side, right? There's a lot of ways to approach this. I don't know. I just think in this day and age, especially, a lot of new DMs, they're looking for things to save them time. A map saves them time. A map that has all the walls and doors and everything saves them time. A map with preloaded encounters that all they got to do is roll a dice and pre-stage the mobs. Yeah, it's great. I don't know. I like that idea. If you can take aspects of DMing that take time and incorporate them into your design, you essentially have a unique product that stands out in a lot of different ways and also saves people time, so they'll probably be more likely to buy it. Okay, so we kind of have like this whole fenced off area. At least, oh no, I didn't do down this way. No! I missed one. You have a month of prep time, but realistically, do you have every hour in that month as prep time, or more like 10 to 20 in the time leading up to the game? Nice, Drake. Hopefully that works. It's more risk. You probably only put in a handful of hours in the month you have to prep, right? I don't know. I just think the more you can essentially deliver a product that makes it easier for a DM to deliver on a session successfully, I think you would have a kind of a home run product. Map making, there's a lot of maps out there, right? Think about it. There are so many maps out there now. I mean, just in our workshop, there's 11,000 maps. I think what I'm going to do is shrink this back a bit and do another one of those angled ones here. Get a little bit of boom. That's too much, though. Gosh. These fences are irritating. I do wish we had a spline tool sometimes for this reason. Like, wish we could line up things better. The devs just don't want to stretch assets. It's a personal artistic choice. They like the assets to look really beautiful at like all angles and sides, and I get it. They have some integrity with those things, and they just don't want it to be kind of weird looking and oblong stretched and odd proportions that make it not as detailed as it can be. So like that's why you can't stretch an object on one side. That's why it only scales proportionately. Sometimes with choice makes things difficult. Too much choice can be a problem, right, Sandora? You know, when I used to work in sales, I didn't like presenting a lot of choices to the people I was giving, that I was helping with sales. I'd usually present them with two choices and say this one for this reason and this one for this reason. Or if maybe if they wanted a third choice, we'd do that, right? Ultimately, the more choices presented makes it more difficult to decide at the end of the day. So you want to try and provide, a straightforward decision, but as the workshop, it's kind of a paradox. Now that you have more choices, it becomes more difficult. You have all the maps you could ever need, but then you'd spend hours looking through them, right? No, I have not made the most by a long shot, actually. I've only made shared maps on the workshop, like a couple dozen. I have hundreds of maps I've made, but I don't share them all. So I use map making as kind of a way it's a cathartic kind of tool to help me relax. Not all of my maps it's kind of art, really. It's not something that I'm going to share with everyone, or it's going to be used in a campaign. Some of them are just for fun at the end of the day. RG, it doesn't just matter. It applies to all ages. So with the workshop, one thing I can help you to limit your choices, right? First off, you have all these different options to kind of divert and have different kind of filters. So like one thing I love to do is sort by most recent. Most popular is great. Everyone likes these maps. These are the most popular, and usually they keep getting voted up and up and up and up again because they're on the most popular page for a long time. So most popular tends to get the same, ones stay there for a long time. Most recent, though, is my favorite because it sorts by... Ooh, look at that, Dyson. That is pretty. I like that a lot. So these maps, when you sort by most recent, you see maps that are new, just shared on the workshop recently. And a lot of times there's diamonds in the rough here that are, like, beautiful. Sorting by most recent is a great way to see the up-and-coming new maps that you may miss in most popular. In fact, let me like this really quick so it gets an upvote, and we'll download it as well. We'll open it in a bit. It might prompt it to open it right away. Yeah, I gotta save. Now, when I'm on the workshop, though, one thing I like to point out is we have the search bar. So let's say you're running a campaign in a certain setting. Maybe you're running a campaign in Lost Mines of Phandelver, right? Search Phandelver. There are dozens of maps labeled Phandelver that are pulled exactly from that setting. Alternatively, you can do the acronym LMOP, Lost Mines of Phandelver. Hundreds of maps show up between the two, okay? Or you can just type Lost Mines. A lot of times you'll find between those three a lot of different options, right? Thunder Tree, Lost Mines of Phandelver. Red Brand Hideout, Lost Mines of Phandelver. Crystal, okay, you get what I'm saying, right? Now, think of all the other known modules, right, that are popular and have been around for a long time. Let's name another one. TOA, Tomb of Annihilation, pretty popular module. Tons of TOA maps. So if you're looking for a specific map in particular, one thing that can help you out is either typing the name of the map or the module it comes from, right? Use the search bar, but the search bar and Steam search is kind of wonky. Okay, every word in the description is a search term. Every word in the title is a search term. So when you're searching, try to type several things. Maybe you're looking for a dwarven colony or a dwarven cave or whatever. Type dwarven cave, colony, city. Give it a few things to search, right? And then it'll bring up a bunch that have similar types or names in them. We got a gnome, dwarven mine, gnome base or dwarven city. Because I gave it several things to search, it pulled up all of them. Tell me more about this Sly Flourish. I'm not familiar with them. Is it like a content creator that teaches you like tips and tricks for DMing? Sandora, you should always share. Always. First off, sharing maps. Okay, I know it takes a little bit of courage to put your map out there, right? I understand that. As a longtime content creator and the community manager of Dungeon Alchemist, trust me, I run into what is known as imposter syndrome all the time as a content creator, where I'm like, ugh, this is not good enough. There's people in my community who make better maps than me. I probably shouldn't even be the community manager. I stink at this. I don't even want to press go live today. I don't want to share something today because no one's going to care about it. I feel like that all the time. Trust me, I know that sensation. Okay? And content creators all over the world get that all the time. Okay? It's a very common feeling. And the thing is self-doubt is one of your biggest enemies in content creation, right? You built a map. You put time and effort into this artwork, right? Whether you feel it's a Van Gogh, it's something that would be standing the test of time in some, crazy gallery someday, or only a handful of people will enjoy it, the fact that you challenged yourself, made a piece of art, and put it out there for the masses is incredibly impressive in its own regard, okay? And it takes baby steps like that, practice and, trial and error to really, find your niche as a map maker in your own style. You know, there's so many map makers in our community that are just flourish and are insanely good cartographers, but also a lot of them have been doing it for years. You know, you have people like Sack and Geronimo. They've been making maps for years now. So they kind of have a leg up on you if you've only been making maps, say, a year or 6 months or 6 days. You know, some of you also may have more time for map making. Maybe it's something you only do a couple hours a month for session prep. It's not something you do, you know, every day, like you're trying to make a hobby career out of it, or you know, you're a community manager for a company that gets paid to make maps and play with maps and talk about D&D all day. So I understand if you're not in a position to kind of like put a ton of effort and time into practicing your map making. But if you can put in a little bit of effort and share that effort with the community, first off, you'll find that you'll be coming out of your shell and able to share more and probably take more risks in your map making. And, you know, learn a lot, too, from it. Honestly, sometimes simple is all you need for a map. You don't need the most extravagant maps on the workshop. So I say share everything, because our community only gets enriched as a whole when maps are on the workshop. Honestly, I remember when there was less than 500 maps, and now we have, you know, we're approaching 11,500 maps. That's an insane repository. It's one of the largest repositories of maps on the internet or tabletop. But yeah, Sandora, I would love to see your work on the workshop, regardless if it's a small tavern or a wood, a forest encounter, or, you know, anything. Don't sell yourself short. I'm sure you've made some amazing builds. And not to mention, some of the most beautiful and powerful maps on here are tiny maps. Look at this arcane shop. It's 5x7. Doesn't need to be some crazy map to be beautiful or good. Right? And 9K just before that. It's crazy how many maps are on the workshop and how many assets now, too. The asset collection is going to pass up the maps anytime now, too. Because a lot of people are uploading assets they didn't even create, so it saves time, especially when they're Creative Commons. They can upload, you know, a bunch daily. Dyson, I've really been enjoying your letter series maps. They're really fun. Keep it up. Nice, Andorra! Yes! I am so proud of you. Honestly, I'm so grateful to the members of our community who share maps. First off, the Dam stream and the Dam Challenge stream would be boring without y'all sharing maps. I don't think I could do 3 map building streams a week. The fact that our content is so community driven. Think about it. These streams, the Dam stream and the Dam Challenge, 100% driven by community content. I'm just here acting as like a host to showcase it, you know? Bar Shiloh asks, when do you think you will get the instant dungeon option? That's a really good question. Instant dungeon is likely a capstone to our project. One of the final updates we'll release, because it's one of the more complex. It also will be more advanced the more objects and biomes and room types we add to Dungeon Alchemist before we create the instant dungeon tool, right? So every update we create and release before Instant Dungeons releases makes it more versatile and powerful. So our next update, for instance, Bar Shiloh, will include multi-level and roofing. So you'll be able to generate multi-level structures, right? With relative ease. So if you put that into perspective, right? Like here's a great example of a structure with a roof on it. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Uh-oh, I accidentally clicked the image behind it. This is an example of the witch's hut room type with a kind of angled roof on it. So this is kind of what's planned for the next update, which is scheduled to launch sometime in this quarter. So sometime between now and the end of June is the most likely launch for this. Now keep in mind, though, it could change. We could get a delay and have to push it back a little bit. Assuming we don't delay, though, we have, after this update, still 4 major updates. I believe. No, maybe 5. So, okay, counting Fun with Objects is 1, okay? We have, in no particular order after this, because I don't even know the order of the release after this. Tricks and Traps, okay? So Fun with Objects, Tricks and Traps, Water Worlds, High Seas, and Instant Dungeons. So after Fun with Objects launches, 4 major releases left. And we usually average between 5 and 7 months per release. So some of them, like this big one with multi-level, has pushed up to about 8 to 10 months total. So, essentially what I'm getting at is this has been a very challenging update that has kind of pushed back our development schedule, and we never actually planned to release multi-level or roofing. When we launched our Kickstarter, it was never even promised. But so many people in our community want it. It's been so highly requested. We felt it was necessary to implement it into our development plans, into our roadmap. And honestly, it looks amazing. So I'm glad they took the time to do it. I'll be honest with you, Shiloh, and I hate to be a downer here for you on this. We have no plans to offer 3D exports of any kind for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist maps you build in 3D so you can get all the details, all the nooks and crannies, and you can have screenshots or video at various angles using our camera tools. But upon export, it is always flattened, or it's a top-down that looks 3D perspective or is flattened. Exactly, Sandora. Like things like scaling objects, merging objects, object collision disabling, raising objects up and down. Those were things the devs said they'd never do, and they've been added over time, right? So unfortunately, Bar Shiloh, Dungeon Alchemists will never offer true 3D exports. And I understand why you want to do it. You want to make like a tavern and export it and 3D print it. I'll be honest with you, man. It would be a nightmare to 3D print something like this. It would take days, and you'd be pulling out the supports for hours. You would probably hate yourself at the end. And I know this from experience. I have 3 3D printers in the room behind me. I have about a decade plus of 3D printing experience. I love 3D printing. I'm all for it, and I think it'd be cool to be able to 3D print, maps like these. But unfortunately, the amount of detail going into these maps, it would be so detailed that a 3D print would be a nightmare, both in time and complexity of like supports. Unless you have, maybe like soluble supports. The reason I say this likely will never happen, Sandora, is because the devs have reiterated it many times to me. And it's because Dungeon Alchemist would have to be essentially gutted from the ground up. Every object would have to be redesigned for 3D export. There's several reasons we don't want to allow it. That's the first. It was never designed for it. So we'd have to kind of shift gears and gut DA from the ground up to accommodate to it. Secondly, we don't want to put our library of assets out there for anyone to take and use without, licensing or whatever. So we're kind of protective of our IP. So those are the 2 main reasons we don't plan on doing it. And I understand why people want to do it. 3D printing is one. Game design, video game design, like people want to build a map and then put it in their game engine and save time because it's such a powerful and simple tool. The third is 3D virtual tabletops, which I hate to be the bearer of bad news, save Tabletop Simulator. I don't think there's a single virtual tabletop out there that allows 3D import. So, like, you have Tailspire 3D, doesn't have 3D import. Demio doesn't have 3D import. There's a bunch of 3D virtual tabletops out there or plugins for, say, Foundry, like 3D Canvas, doesn't allow 3D import. Oh, you want to use it as like the backdrop. I mean, that could be possible, but I just don't see us offering that as an option. That being said, never say never. It could happen. There's been a lot of things we said never to in the past. We ended up adding due to community pressure. Yeah, lag would be insane with full 3D import. Fizzy, yeah, it is. Most of them have built-in map tools. They're an enclosed ecosystem, right? Tailspire, you build your map there, you play in their ecosystem. Demio, you build your map there. it's a self-contained ecosystem. That's why they don't allow imports. At the end of the day, though, I understand why people want to use our Mapmaker for that. It's simple. It's a very straightforward, beautiful tool. Easy to use, easy to learn, easy to adapt. And if it could export to, say, like Tailspire or export for 3D print, it'd be amazing. There is a tool coming out, Bar Shiloh, that you may want to look into called Realm Architect. I'm not above referring people to products that would be more in line for their needs. Okay? And Realm Architect is in Kickstarter or in development right now. And they have 2 versions of every map. They have like a detailed, highlighted like version like Dungeon Alchemist, and it seems like a lot of their tools are kind of very similar to ours. It kind of looked like they were stealing our homework. But they also have a version where you can export it as 3D, and it does a simplified mesh of every object to do like tile versions of prints, so you can make tiled, hex-tiled maps. I would definitely look into that if you haven't heard of it, because I think it's more along the lines of what you're looking to do with 3D printing of a design of a map. Their tool was designed with that intention when it was developed, so it probably is a little bit better for it. Cool. Ah, I see. That's interesting. So you play with a projector tabletop, and then you project like an animated map, and then put like tokens and set pieces on it, like a little hut or maybe a bridge or something like that. That's pretty cool. I like that idea. So you're doing simple set pieces. Interesting. Interesting. Do you have any pictures of that? I'd love to see it. If you could share it on our Discord, that'd be fantastic. If you're not a member of our Discord, everyone, I highly recommend joining. It shows events for when the streams come up. So there's an event section telling you when the next stream is going to be live. There are sections to, get support when we're offline of the stream. So you can, submit a ticket and get support almost 24 hours a day. There are sections where you can collaborate with other DMs and bounce ideas off of them for your stat blocks, your homebrew ideas, your encounters, etc. And there's places to share your maps and 3D art. So if you're making assets, you can share them there and let people know about them, self-promote them. You can even self-promote your Twitch channels and other stuff through our self-promo channel, as long as you're sharing Dungeon Alchemist related content for that particular promo. So if you made a map and you shared it on your Instagram, you could share the Instagram post there. Or if you're streaming Dungeon Alchemist map making, you could share that. Or if you're streaming a D&D campaign and you use Dungeon Alchemist maps, you could share that, etc. If you want to put it in the community creation section, Bar Shiloh, that's where people share art and maps and their TV tabletops and stuff like that. Great place to share it. Man, I'm kind of disappointed in how little I got done today. It was mostly just fencing, right? But I'll be honest with you. Now that it's done, I can just dive into graves for the most part next week, and it's going to be easy. Can I put this one here? That is so annoying. Some sides it'll snap, some it won't. It's like, you see that? It shows it for a second that it's okay. Why? Oh, I hate that. That drives me nuts. The next update will have that, y'all. We talked about this earlier in the stream. I don't know if you were here earlier, but we did kind of talk about that. It won't be like a spline tool, but in the next update, you'll have the option to make custom object brushes. So you can grab any object from the object menu and paint them out. And we're also adding a feature called, shoot, I can't remember it. 1 second. It is called modular object tools. So there's another tab being added in here that allows object linking and quickly linking objects. So things like fences, pipes, rails, a bunch of objects are being added into that. So you can quickly stamp them and connect them and angle them and stuff. Keep in mind, though, this map was done off the grid. So a lot of what I'm doing is done on hand by purpose. Like, if you look at this map, look at it. This is probably one of the only fences that has been put on grid. Almost all of them have been done by hand off grid because I built the entire map perpendicular to the grid. I'm laying out all these plots by hand. So there really was no, like, floor plan. And as I'm going, I just kind of make it as I go. But the next update is incorporating several tools to increase efficiency with laying down objects that link together or can potentially link together. Rails, pipes, fences, you know. So like here, as you look, they're just pushing the button and it automatically adds the next piece instead of having to drag one over, copy line up. But many different objects will be supplemented into this. And then also you can take any object and then paint it. So they're experimenting with painting some of the object walls under structural. So like these fences, or if you go to here and they have these like metal and stone platforms, they're tinkering around with, because I personally use these for city walls. Oh gosh, please tell me we didn't just crash. I'm gonna wait. A lot of times I will ignore the grid, but like when you place houses, they auto-snap to the grid. When you use fences and objects, they auto-snap to the grid, and I ignored the grid instead to do this all by hand, which was a personal choice. But I wanted this map to be a little bit, you know, like different. You can tell when a map's generated on the grid. It just looks like kind of follows a certain style. Oh, this is obnoxious. There's like a pixel here that you can do it. It's insane. That is seriously ludicrous. Guess what, everyone? Time to wrap up the stream. Had a lot of fun hanging out with y'all today. We showed a lot of teasers. We provided a lot of real-time support, answered a lot of questions today, which I love. You know, we have so much engagement from our community, people dropping in, needing, you know, their questions answered, but also people dropping in, you know, just to hang out, support these community initiatives. Mapmaker Monday is arguably the busiest stream of the week. We have a lot of people drop in through our various platforms, and it's always a treat to have you here. So I appreciate you all, you know, those that support week after week, those that support, you know, when they can, whether you're actively chatting, whether you're lurking, whether this is your 50th stream or your first. Thank you so, so much for being a part of our community. We really are the best damn community in the world. Oh, we just had a sub in the last couple minutes. James Williams, thank you so much for the sub. Quick reminder to everyone, if you enjoyed the stream, you had fun today, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that follow button, that subscribe button. That way you can find us in the future. Alternatively, make sure you share and, you know, spread the word about the stream so we can get more people in here learning about Dungeon Alchemist. Word of mouth, like I said, is the kind of main way we advertise Dungeon Alchemist. So when you tell your friends and family and your table about this product you use for your map making and tell them how much you like it, that's usually when people hear about us. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for all you do as our community. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for helping in chat, support others, providing guidance. Thank you for helping me get ideas and making suggestions towards our development. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and then we're going to wrap up the stream, okay? I know we ran this ad earlier, but we're going to run it again. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you all so very, very much. Before I take off, though, and run the ad, I want to do a quick bit of, just day-to-day business. Our next stream is on Wednesday. That's actually exclusive to our Discord server. Every Wednesday, we host a stream called Office Hours. Similar to, our other streams, not like Mapmaker Monday, because I'm not actually building a map, but during Office Hours, we provide support. I take notes on your suggestions and feedback, and I share it with the devs when I go to meetings with them. So if you have an idea, or you ran into a bug, or whatever, maybe you just want to hang out with like-minded map makers and vibe and get to know each other and share ideas and bounce ideas off of each other for your campaigns and homebrew and stat blocks and whatnot, storytelling. It's a great place to be because pretty much everyone there is a DM. So it's like a hive mind of DMs hanging out, talking maps, talking Dungeon Alchemist, talking pop culture, coming up with ideas for our campaigns. Imagine, if you will, we had a corporate office and you could tune in, hang out, or drop by and, meet the team, get a tour, hang out with us. That's kind of what it would be like, but we don't have a corporate headquarters, so this is the closest thing we can offer. That's Wednesday. That is at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is, I think, 5 p.m. UTC for that one. And then our following stream is upcoming Saturday. This upcoming Saturday is the Dam Challenge stream. So those of you who've been watching, I'm sure you've seen the little marquee at the bottom saying the next Dam Challenge is Legend. Should have mentioned it a couple times during the stream. I'm sorry. Every 2 weeks, we host an ongoing bi-weekly map-making contest. We pick a theme, we challenge our community to make a map using that theme as inspiration, and submit it before the deadline for a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card and a little bit of Dungeon Alchemist infamy. You get to flex your mapmaker muscle against the community, but also challenge yourself to make and share a map that you may not have even considered making before. The current theme is Legend. If you're interested in participating, you have between now and the end of day on Friday the 18th, 11:59 in your own time zone, to submit a map to the Dam Challenge channel in our Discord. In the Discord Dam Challenge channel, there's rules pinned at the top of the channel. You must follow those rules to qualify. So make sure you check out the pins, read the rules, submit your entry before the deadline. As long as you do that, you have a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card, a chance to have your map be the first map featured on the Dam Challenge stream the next day on the Saturday stream. And additionally, you get your map featured in our weekly newsletter, the Cartomancer Chronicles, which is a fun way to show off your work. As you can see here, we have the previous winner, which was Chim in chat. Chim did a great job with this Neural Nexus map. In fact, Chim, because your map was featured in the Cartomancer Chronicles, just looking at this, it's actually the most popular map right now on the workshop in the last month. So it's a great way to boost your work and get eyes on it. If you're a commission map maker making a map for the Dam Challenge, you can get a lot of eyes on your work. And I've got no problem with you putting in the notes, hey, I do commission work. If you're interested, reach out at this Patreon or whatever. So it's a good idea to advertise yourself that way too. Anyway, consider entering the map making challenge to challenge yourself. It's not to challenge the other people in our community. It's to push your map making to new heights. So consider participating. You have a few days left to do so. The map doesn't have to be huge. It can be whatever you want as long as it's inspired by legend. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Had a lot of fun. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility and immersion tool available on Steam. You can download a free demo if you're new to our community today and you want to try it out, make sure it's something that you would like, or maybe it will how it runs on your computer. You can download the demo, test drive before you buy, build a tavern set in a forest, so you have a limited access to our terrain biomes and object sets and rooms, but you can get a good feel of how the Dungeon Alchemist will run on your computer and kind of get a feel for how the tool functions. Other than that, Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam. If you're interested, you can check it out. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to run that ad and we're going to end the stream. Bye! Bye!
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. You're the best damn community in the world. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out.